Return of the War God Chapter 1, 10 Years of Silence, Yi Wuqian. Boom om. The yuanli fluctuated, and there was the sound of double fists fighting, and the flying stone chips. Yi Wuk was hit in the chest with a punch, and his figure fell back 3 feet before stopping his figure. However, a 14-5-year-old boy with fair skin and handsome appearance, especially his eyes are naturally bright, adding a strange charm to his immature face. It's just that Yi Wuk is slightly embarrassed at the moment, his black hair in the martial arts shawl is fluttering, and he does not look at the opponent who defeated him in 3 strokes on the performance stage, but closed his eyes, expressionless, and seemed to be immersed in his own. In the world. Yi Wuk, eliminate. Murong Hai, win, enter the next round. With the sound coming from behind the huge martial arts stage, Murong Hai, who was standing on the martial arts stage, jumped off the stage, with a scarred face, a burly figure and 18 years old. With an arrogant expression on his face, Murong Hai's eyes swept over Yi Wuk's closed eyes. The pleasure and contempt in it were unconcealed. When he walked by Yi Wuk's side, he suddenly smiled slightly. Yi Wuk, I really admire you. For 10 years, have you ever counted how many times you have defeated? Oh, yes, I forgot. I guess you have forgotten what it's like to win, hee, what a, trash. Fei Wuk was turned into a team with Murong Hai in the first battle. He deserves bad luck. 3 tricks are defeated without any lack, tusk, really weak. Oh, in the past 10 years, Fei Wucai has never won a single battle in countless battles, and he has been defeated and fought again and again for a whole 10 years. What a strange thing. Surrounding the left side of the huge martial arts field, there are more than 100 boys and girls who are not 11 or 12 years old, and they are all dressed in light blue martial arts uniformly tailored. Each young his face was shining brilliantly and vigorously, like the sun just rising in the morning. All of this, Yi Wuk, who closed his eyes, seemed to be used to it, but no one knew that earth-shaking changes were taking place in his body at this moment. This change, even though it has been silent for 10 years, and his heart is hardened like iron, Yi Wuk, whose will is polished and transparent, even trembled slightly. His heart was agitated like a tide, and the throbbing from the depths of his soul became more and more fierce. The emperor is worthy of his heart. 10 years of silence, and now I have achieved my wish. Am I finally successful? Huh, Binglan, I'm 1 step ahead, don't fall behind. Murong Hai, who had long turned into a brilliant smiling face, came to the stone bench on the right side of the martial arts field where dozens of young strong men sat, and smiled at a girl sitting in the front. With his arrival, Dao Dao's fighting spirit and fiery eyes focused on him, and many powerful fluctuations swept across him, all of which belonged to the young powerhouse of the Murong family sitting here. Murong Hai, do you feel happy to win over Yi Wuk's waist? Your strength has indeed grown very fast, and you have broken through to the 8th heaven forging body, but compared to Brother Tian, you are still far behind. A slightly cold daughter's voice sounded from the girl named Binglan by Murong Hai. Although this woman is sitting on a stone bench, her slender legs crossed together form a charming arc. She is wearing a red close-fitting silk dress with blossoming embroideries on her chest. The small waist that she holds is straight. On her pointed chin is a pair of beautiful phoenix eyes, her nose is straight and her lips are bright red. She is an excellent beauty. After hearing Binglan's words, Murong Hai's smile stagnated, eyes flashed with jealousy, he smiled, but stopped speaking, walked to his stone bench and sat down with his eyes closed. After hearing the words, Tian Gu, those young strong men sitting awkwardly behind Murong Binglan showed envy and admiration almost at the same time. The next game, Murong Binglan vs Murong Jie. At the same time, an energetic man's voice came from behind the martial arts stage. As soon as this voice rang, the whole martial arts field suddenly became silent, because it belonged to Murong Patriarch Murong Chongqing. Shoo! 2 young figures suddenly jumped up from the stone benches and rushed towards the martial arts stage. A scent of fragrant wind rushed past. Murong Binglan stood pretty on the 50-foot-long martial arts arena, and one stood opposite her. The middle-looking boy, his gaze swept across Murong Binglan's face, and there was a trace of drunkenness and love. Murong Binglan, one of Murong Shuangshu. The qualifications are good, the looks are beautiful, and the temperament is even more cold and compelling. I don't know how many of Murong's children are the goddess. Looking at the beauties in front of them, Murong Jie is even a little cramped and nervous. He originally stood on the martial arts field and closed his eyes. Wucai opened his eyes at this moment. The strong will he has cultivated in the past 10 years has well controlled his emotions. His eyes are as calm as before. He looked at the two standing on the field and walked straight down the martial arts arena, but Murong Binglan swept away. There was a deep humiliation and disgust hidden in his eyes. Start. Boom, boom. Murong Binglan and Murong Jie broke out in a war. Yi Wuk, who walked down the martial arts field, was still agitated in his heart, but he slowly walked to the position behind the martial arts field and swung his hand at one of the 10 figures sitting there. Uncle Chongqing, Wuxia will go one step ahead and go back to practice. The boy's voice was clear and melodious, and it seemed that the defeat just now did not cast any shadow on him. Well, no shortage, you go back first. There is a complex meaning in Murong Chongqing's eyes. How amazing was the handsome young man standing in front of him 10 years ago. Although Yi Wuk did not come from the Murong family, since that person entrusted him to the Murong family 11 years ago and left something like that, Murong Chongqing has not regarded Yi Wuk as an outsider. Cultivation talent can be called a monster. At the age of 4, he practiced Murong's family's superb grade, Hao Tian Jin. At the age of 5, he broke through to the 5th layer of forging body. In that year, he defeated one of the 5 super sects of the northern Tianyu who came here. The peerless little genius. This news stirred up waves like a stone. 5-year-old, bodybuilding 5-fold heaven, what is this concept? When a cultivator embarks on the path of cultivation, the first great realm is the physical training realm. This realm is divided into 10 heavens. The physical body is beaten and the blood is condensed. They correspond to skin, flesh, tendons, bones, and marrow. An ordinary people break through the first level of physical training at the age of 10, and they are called geniuses. If they can break through to the 3rd level of physical training at the age of 10, they will be rare in a century. Genius. Such a rare genius in 100 years, as one of the 3 major families of Longguang City, one of the 100 main cities of the North Tianyu East, only one Murong family has been born for several generations, and that is Murongshan, who has entered the Murong Forbidden Land and is about to leave. Murongshan, a 10-year-old break through the triple heaven of bodybuilding, is known as a genius who is rare in a century. At the age of only 5 years old, what was Yi Wuqian, who had broken through the 5th heaven of forging body before forming the blood in his body and reached the level of strengthening muscles? Murong Chongqing originally thought that God blessed the Murong family and gave this generation of 2 geniuses, but after the 5-year-old Yi Wuk defeated the peerless little genius from the Qingming Temple, in 10 years, he was nowhere to go. For 10 years, Yi Wuk stayed in the 5th heaven for bodybuilding, stopped at the realm where he was astonishing and stunning when he was 5 years old. Murong Chongqing tried countless ways to find out the cause, but only one result could be obtained. The blood in the body is inexplicably exhausted, and it is no longer suitable for cultivation. Tian is jealous of talents, nothing more than this. Just after Murong Chongqing had to give up, Yi Wuk chose to continue practicing. He didn't seem to be affected at all, and he continued to practice hard. Only in the eyes of outsiders, Yi Wuk couldn't bear to fall into the bottom for a while, crazily trying to restore his genius glory. They thought that Yi Wuk was already crazy. Wu Weiwei became his alias. Just when Yi Wuk was about to leave the Yanwu platform, a wave that rose to the sky quickly struck from far to near. Swish. Powerful vitality surging around the body, the visitor is tall and looks only 17 or 18 years old. The skin, flesh, tendons, bones and marrow all over his body have been thoroughly practiced. The blood and vitality have long been completely integrated, regardless of each other. The is permeated with a huge force. Yi Wuk could clearly see the light silver crescent moon pulsating behind this person, which was as high as the person. Although vague and unstable, it exuded a powerful breath. The white vitality slowly dissipated. The man was dressed in a white martial arts shirt and hunted in the wind. His black hair was in a bun. My God! It's Murongshan. Murongshan is out. His breath? Did he really break through the physical realm? Hi. That is. Poyu. At such an age and cultivation level, he is indeed the first person in the Morong family's younger generation. The entire martial arts field immediately exploded with the appearance of Morong Tian, and countless shocked voices spread, especially those young disciples who were sitting on the stone benches and Morong Tian's age. Morong Hai, who was bitter and helpless, was still silent a moment ago. Morong Tian, everyone's eyes were concentrated at this moment, he was the center of the light. The two people fighting on the martial arts stage also stopped at this moment, and Morong Binglan stared at Morong Tian closely with a pair of brilliant eyes. Ha! God bless my Morong's house. God, you finally condensed Poyu and stepped into the first stage of Yingpu state in Shifan. The 17-year-old Yingpu state. Good. Great. At this moment, an old man sitting next to Morong Chongqing suddenly got up and looked up to the sky and smiled. The old man looked ordinary and exuded a scent of haze, but at this time he laughed extremely freely. The third elder of the Morong family, Morong Baishar, is also Murongshan's grandfather. Murongshan has met the patriarch and the elders. When he spoke lightly, Morong Tian's expression was also indifferent, but there was a trace of innate arrogance in his tone. Tianer don't have to be polite. You successfully gathered Puyu, and entered the realm of washing the world at the age of 17. At such an age, it is considered to be the top 3 in the 200 years of my Morong family. Morong Chongqing was also very happy. As the heir of the Morong family, Morong Tian's excellence will undoubtedly make the Morong family one more master in the years to come. Yeah. Tianer is a genius that is rare in a century. The old man has lived for 60 years. A genius like Tianer can only be seen in his life. Reward. Patriarch, Tianer is so excellent, deserve a reward. Morong Baishar heard the admiration of other elders, and his heart was even more proud. His grandson is so outstanding, so long face. Yi Wuk stood behind Morong Tian and still didn't leave. His eyes swept across the pale silver crescent moon, revealing a strange light, and his thoughts surged. Is this the symbol of washing the world realm, Poyu? It's really strange. Depressing the thoughts in his heart, feeling the earth-shaking changes in his body, Yi Wuk was about to leave here, he had very important things to confirm. This is his 10 years of death, in exchange for, good luck. Today, I finally got what I wanted. To the patriarch, Murongshan has something to ask for. Morong Tian spoke indifferently again. As soon as these words fell, the pretty eyes of Morong Binglan on the martial arts stage lit up, as if thinking of something, he was overjoyed, his eyes swept over Yi Wuk, who was about to leave, full of disgust and relief. Oh. Hee, I once promised you that as long as you can break through to the realm of the retreat this time, I promised you 2 requirements. Now you have done it. So, God, you have any requests to speak up. As if he knew what Morong Tian was thinking, Morong Chongqing smiled immediately. Morong Tian, who was affirmed by Morong Chongqing, suddenly turned his eyes, and looked at Yi Wuk who was about to leave indifferently, like a 9-day dragon looking down at the ant. The first thing Morong Tian spoke on behalf of Bing Lan, begging the patriarch to take back Bing Lan's marriage contract with Yi Wuk, because he is unworthy. When this remark came out, everyone was shocked. Hiss. Only heard the sound of several air conditioning sounds around, many of Morong's children were taken in a daze and then suddenly looked at them. Call out. With a fragrant breeze, Morong Binglan swept down the martial arts stage like a fiery red butterfly, standing beside Murongshan, raising her delicate chin, and said coldly, Father, Binglan doesn't want to marry Yi Wuk. I also asked Dad to take his life back, it is impossible for Binglan to marry a trash. The frosty voice of her daughter spread all around, and instantly fell into the ears of Morong Chongtian and the 5 elders who were sitting together, and even more clearly to the ears of every Morong child. At the same time, Yi Wuk, who also heard the words of Morong Tian and Morong Binglan, also had a meal. This scene fell in the eyes of Morong's children, and instantly made up for Yi Wuk's sadness and unwillingness, and part of it was projected on Yi Wuk's body. His eyes were full of sympathy and pity, but it was more of a sense of joking. Sure enough, Yi Wuk quickly turned around. It was just that the distorted face did not appear, and replaced by a relaxed smile. Yi Wuxi's Juanxiu's face was full of smiles, and she clasped her fists and said loudly, "Uncle Chongqing, I have already refused to you about the marriage contract. It's just that today, you can take it back and you will be grateful." Amount. Dozens of extremely unexpected sounds of surprise sounded. The Murong children present had imagined all kinds of sadness, unwillingness, madness, and humiliation, but they didn't expect Yi Wuxi to answer this way, and they seemed to be sincere. Happy. Hearing Yi Wuxi's answer, Murong Binglan suddenly felt dark in front of her, and could hardly stand firm, and a strong sense of humiliation instantly filled her heart. Murong Tian also raised his brows. Obviously Yi Wuxi's answer was also unexpected. It was just that Murong Tian's scheming was not bad, his eyes were still indifferent, and he did not wait for Murong Chongqing to answer and speak again. "The second thing is to ask Patriarch to give me the blood dragon jade. Yi Wuxi is not qualified to own this thing." These words echoed word by word in Yi Wuxi's ears, and his smiling face also converged little by little, and a deep chill flashed in his calm eyes. Blood dragon jade, this is the only thing that Fu Bo left to him except the letter that cannot be opened. It is temporarily kept by Murong Chongqing, and it carries the deepest yearning in Yi Wuxi's heart in the past 11 years. He has been eager to look forward to the precious things, and has nothing to do with Murong's family. In other words, this originally belonged to Yi Wuxi. And now, Murong Tian wants to grab it. Return of the War God Chapter 2, after January, Dare to Fight? Yi Wuxi's eyes closed slightly, and despite the anger in his heart, despite all the ridicule of Murong's children over the past 10 years, he still has feelings for Murong's family and still respects the middle-aged man he calls Uncle Evergreen. Here, after all, is where he grew up. He waited quietly, waiting for the decision from Murong Chongqing. Murangshan begs the Patriarch to agree to these two requirements. The entire martial arts venue fell into silence. Even the elders of the Murong family were silent for a while, only Murong Baisher's eyes narrowed, and his eyes swept over Yi Wuxi, not knowing what was thinking in his heart. After 2 consecutive requests were left behind, Murong Tian stopped speaking, his face was indifferent, and he quietly watched Murong Chongqing whose complexion changed slightly, the floating moon behind him, invisibly showing that he said these 3 words. Emboldened. Yi Wuxi. This that has been wasted for 10 years is also worthy of the blood dragon jade. Genius Murong is the owner of this jade. Genius Murong is worthy to possess this strange thing that can make the cultivators of the world-washing world soar into the sky. With arrogance and madness in his heart, Murong Tian, who seemed indifferent, also became surging at this moment. Blood dragon jade, he had been looking forward to it for too long. Blood dragon jade, blood dragon swallows moon. This jade can allow monks to obtain an unexpected good fortune in the realm of washing. Murong Chongqing was a bit bitter at the moment. The information about the blood dragon jade was left by that person and left to Yi Wuxi. The blood dragon jade was not something of the Murong family. It was originally returned to Yi Wuxi when he stepped into the washing ordinary realm, but no one thought that Yi Wuxi would be abandoned. It turns out, blood dragon jade, Tianer came for the blood dragon jade. No wonder this time he wants to make a bet with me before retreating. It turns out that he already has a certainty of cohesion moon. Alas, if this blood dragon jade is really true, my Murong should be great, but Murong Chongqing, who has never been indecisive, was a bit tangled for a while. After a while, he stood up from the stone seat with an expressionless face, glanced over Murangshan, and once again fixed on Yi Wuxi's face, complicated and inexplicable. The marriage contract with Binglan, Wu Wei has long since begged me to take my life back in private. This marriage contract was originally a joke, but today I announce that the marriage contract between Yi Wu Wei and Murong Binglan will be abandoned. From now on, no one will have to mention it again. The most, new chapter, O Festival Carrot on You Cool Craftsman. 1 net. Deep words rang from Murong Chongqing's mouth. This result was not beyond everyone's expectations. Only Murong Binglan was trembling at this moment, her teeth almost bit her blushing lips, and her eyes flashed with relief. Meaning, but more of it was humiliation and resentment towards Yi Wuxi, and there was no trace of joy. As for Tianer, the blood dragon jade you asked for. Morong Changqing's words suddenly stopped, as deep as Morong Tian was also a little nervous at this moment. He looked at Morong Changqing, his desire almost reached the extreme. The eyes of Morong's children on the entire martial arts field also completely converged on Morong Changqing's face at this time. Blood Dragon Jade, the existence of this thing is not a secret in Morong's family, they just don't know the specific role of Blood Dragon Jade. But this is not important. The important thing is that Morong's children knew that the Blood Dragon Jade originally belonged to Yi Wuk, but now Morong Tian asked for it. In this way, how Morong Evergreen Club finally decided, affected everyone's nerves. Although it affected everyone's nerves, Morong Changqing's slightly vicissitudes of eyes remained motionless, but continued to speak quietly. Tianer, when you were 17 years old, you have gathered together and entered the realm of washing. You have excellent qualifications. It is the pride of my Morong family. Before you retreat, I promised you 2 requirements as long as you break through. Since you live up to expectations, I will naturally abide by the agreement. As soon as he said this, Yi Wuk's originally loosened palms quietly squeezed, and the knuckles that were too hard were even pinched white, and his heart sank suddenly at this moment, an inexplicable negative emotion. Upward, a faint golden glow appeared in the depths of the slightly closed eyes. Mouth curled up, Morong Tian's eyes gleamed, and the excitement in his heart was beyond words. Blood Dragon Jade, his desire was finally coming true, but Morong Baisher, who was sitting next to Morong Changqing, showed a trace of doubt on his old face. Yi Wuk's expression fell completely in Morong Changqing's eyes. He could clearly feel the rising up of the 15-year-old boy with a strong negative aura, and he smiled dumbly in his heart. This stinky boy, he thought he was really I won't be angry anymore. When everyone's eyes turned into pity, sympathy and ridicule, and disdain to project on Yi Wuk, a decisive voice suddenly broke the silence. It was from Morong Changqing. But Tianer, it's a pity that the real owner of the Blood Dragon Jade is Wu Qian and not me. It was originally not belonging to my Morong family. I just kept it for me, so even I have no right to distribute this jade, Blood Dragon Jade. The attribution of yours must be determined by incompleteness. Therefore, your request is not that I do not agree to you, but that I cannot agree to you at all. Call. Yi Wuk's body, who was originally filled with a strong sorrow, trembled, and then slowly relaxed, exhaled deeply, slightly lowered his face and gently lifted it, and the naturally bright eyes surged again. There was a smile, it was a warm smile. Morong Changqing's sudden change made the Morong children of the entire martial arts ground collectively astonished. They could hardly believe their ears. For the sake of a waste, the patriarch rejected the family's first genius. Patriarch, you rejected my plea for Yi Wuk's waist, and Murangshan refuses to accept this matter. Morong Tian, who was holding the winning ticket, had a sharp face, his eyes narrowed slightly, and his voice was slightly sullen. The Puyu leaping that had just condensed behind him showed the unrest in his heart. Seeing Morong Changqing's rejection of his grandson, Morong Baisher, who had been sitting still, suddenly said, God. Don't be rude. Immediately he stood up and looked at Morong Changqing with a smile. Patriarch, Tianer is not yet 18 years old, and he didn't speak properly. Please forgive me. The 3 elders are serious. Tianer is the genius of my Morong family. A genius must have something extraordinary. How can I care? Following Morong Baisher's words, Morong Changqing smiled leisurely. Seeing this scene, Morong Baisher didn't take it seriously. He glanced at his beloved grandson. The sullenness that the latter had originally displayed disappeared without a trace at this moment, returning to the previous indifference. With a satisfied smile in his heart, Morong Baisher left Yi Wuqian with a flash of sternness in his eyes, and said to Morong Changqing again, Blood Dragon Jade matters, and now Wuqian he can't practice. If he waits until he is 18 years old, the Blood Dragon Jade returning it to him may not be a good thing for him. It seems that Morong Baisher and Morong Tian have coveted the Blood Dragon Jade for a long time. Yi Wuk looked at Morong Baisher blankly, and his heart moved. Seeing that Morong Changqing was silent, Morong Baisher spoke again, Patriarch, the old man has always believed that without the corresponding strength, he is not qualified to own something. Now he is only forging the 5 heavens. The Blood Dragon Jade is not only a blessing but a blessing. It's a curse, maybe it will cause a murder. An atmosphere of solemnity spread with Murong Baisher's words, and Murong Changqing's expression also changed. The three elders are right, it is more appropriate to give the blood dragon jade to Tiana. Yes, even if the blood dragon jade is given to Yi Wuk, he can't keep it. The world has a sinister heart, and the old man thinks that this jade should be given to Tiana. The elders of Murong's family sitting on the stone seat finally spoke at this moment. Enough. I decided on this matter in the name of the patriarch. The blood dragon jade belongs to Yi Wuk, and no one should mention it again. Murong Changqing's expression stern, and he drank a deep voice. Seeing Murong Changqing said this, Murong Baisher's old face moved, holding down the anger in his heart, and taking a deep look at Murong Tian. The eyes of the grandfather and grandson met, and Murong Tian suddenly felt a flash of lightning across his heart. In Yi Wuk's gaze, Murong Tian suddenly turned around, a pair of indifferent eyes fell on him. Yi Wuk couldn't avoid it, and his calm eyes looked at him also. Yi Wuk, how about the blood dragon jade? Now you, what do you use to get it, relying on the gift of the patriarch? What if you get it? Why do you keep it? You, have this ability huh? Fifth heaven for bodybuilding? Huh, in Murangshan's eyes, such a cultivation base is not qualified to give me shoes. Yi Wuk. My Murangshan has the ability to hold the blood dragon jade. Do you have this ability? If you have, you might as well prove it for everyone to see. The extremely cold words rang from Murong Tian's mouth one after another, spread throughout the entire martial arts field in an instant, and clearly reached Yi Wuk's ears. Yeah. How can Fei Wuqian be qualified to have the blood dragon jade? Genius Murong is the genius of our Murong family. If the Murong family wants to be brilliant, they must rely on Murangshan. This appearance not only cultivates waste, but also fights Murangshan. Wu Wuqian really knows no good or bad. Countless small voices buzzed endlessly, and the Murong children present couldn't help but talk. Seeing this, Murong Baisher smiled in his heart, and Murong Tian's mouth was slightly tilted. Murong Changqing's face changed slightly. How could he not understand Murangshan's intentions? Exciting general. Murangshan is stimulating Yi Wuk. What does the phrase, prove it to everyone, mean? Wasn't it just for Murong Tian to want Yi Wuk to fight? Smelly boy, keep your breath. For Murong Tian's actions, Murong Changqing was unable to stop him. Although he was very good to Yi Wuk, he was still the head of the Murong family. But Murong Tian is the future of Murong's family. Ha! Yi Wuk, if you endure it, you will be spurned by the whole Murong children. If you are motivated by me, then I will let you know what despair is. With thoughts in his heart, Murong Tian stared at Yi Wuk closely. He wanted to see how Yi Wuk chose. Feeling the sight cast from all directions and Murong Tian's questions like a knife, Yi Wuk smiled dumbly. The young Juanshio's face is full of smiles, but this smile hides something that seems to have been in the dust for a long time. Slowly stretched out his hands, Yi Wuk's eyes became deep, his fingers closed, and his fists slowly formed, and he muttered to himself, what about the fierce general? I need to protect my own things after all. The long black hair fluttered in the wind, and at the moment when his fists were clenched, an extremely surging aura emerged from Yi Wuk's body. This was not from the fluctuations of his cultivation, but from his will and soul. Powerful. Ha ha ha. Murangshan. So, as you wish, after a month, dare to fight. If I lose, the blood dragon jade hand in hand. If I win, you just have to see I will detour, road, and go. Suddenly, the words of the sky resounded from the mouth of this 10-year-old boy, like a sharp sword that had been in its sheath for 10 years, and now finally reveals its supreme sharpness again. Yi Wuk's words were like a violent wind, which instantly filled the entire martial arts field. The Murong children present thought that they had heard it wrong, and almost subconsciously cut their ears. Shocked, stunned, and incredulous expressions clearly appeared on the faces of every Murong child. I heard that right. Abandon the appointment to fight Murong Tian. After 1 month, can you dare to fight? This, and Wu Wei are mad, right? Tsk Tusk. I admire the courage of innocence now. Murong Hai's expression changed, and then he smiled disdainfully. Morong Binglan's delicate and pretty face was as cold as ice, and he made a decision in his heart. Yi Wuok's words also surprised Morong Tian. He thought that under his agitation, Yi Wuok would either swallow his breath or turn around and leave, but he never thought that Yi Wuok would dare to fight him. After January. Dare to fight? Good, good. Yi Wuok. You are still a bit bloody. Since you have spoken, I will take the so-called dignity in your heart. Just 1 month later, still here, I Murongshan will fight with you. Although what happened was a bit beyond Morong Tian's expectations, it was even better than he expected. Yi Wuok, you can't blame me for your own death. The blood dragon Jade, I am sure to win Morong Tian's ambition. Uncle Evergreen, I would like you to be a witness to this matter. I am grateful, and I will leave first. The young man who was calm as water once again bowed his hand to Morong Changqing, who had a complex complexion, and then stopped staying, turned and left, leaving everyone with a familiar but unfamiliar back. Yi Wuok, who quickly disappeared from the martial arts field, suddenly turned red, and his whole body temperature was terribly high. At this moment, he almost couldn't suppress the shocking changes that came from his body. Search coolsmith.com on WeChat, follow the name of the post work, and read the full text for free. The fastest update. You can also get 20 excavators. Return of the War God Chapter 3, The Holy Method of Fighting. 3 punches to blow Morong high. Hot. 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 This was Yi Wuok's only feeling at the moment. In a simple cabin, Yi Wuok struggled to maintain a cross-sit posture, his body was hot, and his white skin had long turned red. The big beads of sweat kept flowing, but in an instant they were quickly evaporated by the terrifying body temperature. He closed his eyes tightly and frowned slightly. Although his face was expressionless, it was not difficult to see from the clenched cheek that Yi Wuok seemed to be enduring great pain at this time. Wow! The roaring sound of a river came from Yi Wuok's body. If you look closely, you will find that every inch of Yi Wuok's body surface is gently squirming. It seems that in his body, there is a powerful force rushing freely. The flesh and blood seem to be torn apart by brute force. The soul seems to be constantly scratched by the cold blade. Although 2 kinds of huge pains are constantly invading Yi Wuok's nerves, the will that has been polished for 10 years has made this 15-year-old boy insist on hard work. And under this pain, Yi Wuok still maintained a sober consciousness. My body seems to be undergoing tremendous changes. This change is exactly what I have exchanged for 10 years of annihilation, the source of the holy law. Boom boom boom. Just as the muffled thunder blasted from the body of Yi Wuok, who was sitting cross-legged, shook suddenly, followed by violent tremors, and the originally small creeping amplitude of the body's surface suddenly increased several times at this moment. Pain. The pain of going deep into the bone marrow and deep into the soul flooded Yi Wuok's nerves in an instant, as if he felt himself in the center of 10 erupting volcanoes. Burning, tearing, curling, all kinds of unspeakable pains are several times better than before, and even if the will is stronger than Yi Wuwei, it is almost unbearable at this moment. The physical body's perception slowly became numb, and his sober consciousness gradually blurred. It seemed that in the next instant, Yi Wuok would pass out completely and would never wake up again. Hold me. Hold me. You can't faint. You must not faint. A silent scream sounded in his heart. Sweat had already wetted his entire body. Although his eyes were pitch black, his ears kept roaring, as intense pain as a tide ravaged his nerves. A breath is just like eternity, Yi Wuok is almost mad. Boom rumble. Wow! The roaring sound of rivers, lakes and seas was even more violent, the muscles on the body's surface had been knotted, and the thick veins in the body were violent, and it was clearly visible like a series of ferocious snakes. The pain has reached its extreme. Patience has reached its limit. But Yi Wuok still succumbed to it. Even if it is death, never give up. No one knows how terrible the obsession in this young man's heart is, seemingly tough and unyielding, but in fact, it is already a kind of paranoia close to madness. Ugh! At this juncture of life and death, a sigh from the depths of Yi Wuok's mind sounded gently. This sigh seemed to be mixed with a loneliness that penetrated the ages, and with a trace of confusion that seemed to be awakened from a deep sleep. OM. A golden light flashed behind Yi Wuk's head, who was sitting cross-legged. Yi Wuk, whose consciousness had dried up and blurred, suddenly felt a coolness at this moment, as if the dry and chapped earth was once again moisturized by the rain from the sky. OM. The vague consciousness regained consciousness under the sudden coolness. The original darkness in front of him, but Yi Wuk, who could only perceive it, suddenly felt bright, and then everything changed. This is, my internal organs. Is this what my body looks like? What appeared, in front of Yi Wuk's eyes, was a strange scene. The beating heart, the complex and orderly veins, the peristaltic stomach, the kidneys of 2 stoves, the oily liver. Everything that brings Yi Wuk is endless novelty. Walala, rumble. It was also at this moment that Yi Wuk finally saw the roar that kept coming out of his body. These voices belong to the most important foundation of cultivators. Qi and blood. If Murong Chongqing could see this scene, he would definitely be unbelievable, because in Yi Wuk's body, what rushed to flow was exactly the blood that he considered to be inexplicably dried up. Yi Wuk, who was in a strange state, didn't seem to be surprised by the existence of his qi and blood. His attention at this time was completely attracted by a group of bright light that was 3 inches below the belly button. The origin of the holy law. This is the origin of the holy law that I have been practicing for 10 years. Lock the blood and water the origin. The emperor pays off. Finally succeeded. Ha 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 ha, finally, it was my success. Up. Yi Wuk was filled with huge surprises, and the pulsating bright light group that looked like a star seemed to be magnificent, majestic, and magnificent, and it was faintly permeated with a powerful and extremely powerful fighting spirit. The pain still continued, but under the coolness that Yi Wuk's extreme perseverance and cooperating slowly sent in his mind, it was much better than the previous dying situation. After confirming that the origin of the holy law was successfully condensed, Yi Wuk couldn't help changing his perspective, carefully studying the situation inside his body. However, everything in front of him shocked Yi Wuk's heart. Golden, light golden. The original bright red blood was contaminated with a hint of golden light at some point. The blood stained with gold in the red? How is this possible? What happened? Yi Wuk was puzzled by the huge confusion, his eyes traced back in the direction of blood and blood, until the golden light group. Because all the blood is surging from the source of the holy law. For 10 years, all my qi and blood have been tightly locked in the pubic area, used to nurture the origin of the holy law, and will not leak a bit. Now that the work is successful, the qi and blood have changed. Is it all holy? Caused by the source of law. While drawing this conclusion, Yi Wuk also figured out the source of the severe pain. The origin of the holy dharma is successfully condensed, and the qi and blood that have long been combined with the origin have to rush out of the pubic area and reach the final step. If you can't look at it, how can it be tolerated by ordinary people? Buzzing. As if for an instant, and as if eternity had passed, all the vitality and blood locked in the pubic area finally rushed out and returned to the body, vast and mighty, drowning the internal organs, muscles and blood, and in an instant Yi Wuqian felt that he seemed to have changed again. Back when I was practicing at the beginning of 5 years old. Jin Hong Qi and blood are extremely vigorous, rushing endlessly, this is the beginning of a powerful cultivator. OM. Suddenly he felt the coolness coming from above disappear, then his body shook, and then his eyes went dark, and when he opened his eyes again, Yi Wuk returned to his body. Boom. Just fell straight back, Yi Wuk lay on the wooden bed leaning over, wet as if he had just been salvaged from the river. A pair of naturally bright eyes are full of smiles, and the corners of the mouth are slightly raised, with the joy of consummation at the end of 10 years of suffering, but there is another meaning, as if waiting for something. A long time. Ugh. The same sigh as before reverberated in Yi Wuk's mind. After hearing this sigh, Yi Wuk couldn't help but smile. This smile hadn't appeared in 10 years. This is the happy smile that comes when I see my old friend again. Sora, long time no see. A young and melodious voice came from Yi Wuk's mouth, seeming to be talking to himself but also like telling someone. 10 years of extinction, it will eventually become good fortune. Yi Wuk, you are really amazing. After a while, it felt very vicissitudes of life, but a very young voice slowly echoed in Yi Wuk's mind, as if the owner of this voice was a man who was only a few years older than Yi Wuk. A faint golden light flashed. Yi Wuk closed his eyes again, and his mind, which was the soul space, trembled slightly, and a strange but familiar feeling rippled through Yi Wuk's heart. Unexpectedly, I slept for 10 years. You actually succeeded in condensing the origins of the holy dharma of fighting, so that I was stimulated and awakened. It seems that although you were young, you chose this path of destruction after all. Called empty by Yi Wuk, the voice that existed in his soul space seemed to have just woke up from a deep sleep, with a trace of laziness, but the appreciation in the tone was not concealed. Sora, thank you just now. You slept for 10 years. What do you remember about yourself? The smiling Yi Wuk asked a question. It seemed that Yi Wuk didn't expect this question. He paused for a while, and then smiled. No, although I still can't remember who I am, the remaining spirit power has recovered a bit, enough to stay awake. If not 10, you have uncovered the sun, moon, and stars, and allowed me to live in your divine soul space. I would have disappeared long ago now. Lying Yi Wuk smiled slightly, suddenly raised his right hand, stretched it into his arms, and took out a letter. The letter looked ordinary. There was no writing on the surface of the envelope, but Yi Wuk, who was holding the letter in his right hand, looked sad and lonely. Oh, it is so, it is this obsession that has supported you willingly to die for 10 years, willing to give up your status as a peerless genius, but also to condense the origin of the holy law. Just to open this letter, I ask you, making such a choice, Yi Wuk, do you regret it? Seeing the letter in Yi Wuk's hand, Kong thought of something and couldn't help but continue to ask questions. Do you know that if you did not choose to condense the origin of the holy law, with your qualifications, your current cultivation base is bound to be extremely high, but for this origin of the fighting holy method, you have been staying in the 5th heaven for bodybuilding. All this is worth it, huh? Kong's question echoed in Yi Wuk's mind. Looking at the letter in his hand, Yi Wuk smiled softly. Is it worth it? Of course it is. Since I can remember, I have been with Uncle Fu. Until the age of 4, Uncle Fu took me to Murong's house, leaving behind this letter and the blood dragon jade, and then quietly left. I can't even think of 4. In my memory before the age of 10, I only know that my name is Yi Wuk, but I don't know who I am. Who are my parents? Where is my hometown? Having said this, Yi Wuk's expression became very warm and nostalgic, but he did not stop. He could only willing to tell Kong about these things that had been hidden for 10 years. In some of the remaining pictures before I was 4 years old, I vaguely remembered that even though Uncle Fu was not my father, he treated me like a parent and child. I seem to have followed him to many places and finally came to Murong's house. My life, I don't know, but I have one hope, this letter and blood dragon jade left by Uncle Fu. Sora, after Fubo left that year, I was so sad that I stumbled and went to that place, unwittingly unveiled the sun, moon, and stars, and met you. Tell me, this letter was restricted by a holy law. Even if your cultivation base is higher in the future, you will never be able to open this letter without knowing the holy law. Hearing this, I was silent for a while. How could he not understand Yi Wuk's words? In the eyes of this young man, no matter how high a level of cultivation is, his dedication to family affection can't be compared. He doesn't know who he is, where he is from, where his parents' hometown is, the only clue it is this letter and the blood dragon jade. How similar is Yi Wuk to him? I have forgotten myself, but he has never known myself. We are all chasing and searching, hoping to find our roots. The cabin fell silent for a while. After a long time, Sora broke the silence. Ha! Do you know? Yi Wuk, you have cultivated the holy method of fighting for 10 years after annihilation, and it will become your greatest good fortune in your life. One day, you will know how correct your choice is. The body forging realm has been cultivated into a holy method, such a chance, such a good fortune. Full of exclamation and joyful voices echoed in his mind, Yi Wuk was a little stunned, but then he remembered the battle with Murong Tian, and his expression condensed. With a thought in his heart, the golden red blood surging in his body vibrated endlessly, and Yi Wuck's mouth gradually revealed a smile. Now that the holy method of fighting is complete, my chi and blood broke through the shackles from the pubic area and returned to the flesh. Sora, I should be able to continue practicing, right? Right now, Yi Wuck told Kong about the battle with Murong Tian. When you were 5 years old, you reached the 5 heavens of forging your body and strengthening your muscles. Over the years, you have continued to nurture the holy method of cohesion in fighting. Invisibly, your body has become stronger and stronger. What you need for bone and marrow refining is only time. With the blessing of the holy method of fighting, your cultivation path is completely different from that of ordinary people. This is a path of good fortune. As for why the blood changes, it may be related to your physique. By the way, you try to practice Yuanli to see. Looking at the letter in his hand again, the brilliance flashed in his eyes. Yi Wuck solemnly took the letter into his arms, and sat cross-legged according to the empty instructions, running the already well-known Heoshinjin with gold in his body. Red blood shocks. OM. The source of the holy law suddenly jumped, and then a huge suction force spread out from the pubic area, and all the vitality in the body was immediately rushed into the source of the dantian by this suction. OM, hum. Yi Wuck was perplexed and could feel that some unknown change had taken place within the beating holy law origin, but at this moment he believed in Sora, just holding Yuan Shi, and paying attention. Boom! A quarter of an hour later, the entire holy law's origin suddenly brightened, the golden light group glowed with a brilliant light, and Yi Wuck's whole body was drowned in this light. At this moment, Yi Wuck's expression changed. OM. Familiar and unfamiliar pale golden vitality rushed out from the source of the holy law, instantly distributing the limbs and hundreds of skeletons, just as before. However, Yi Wuck knew that what was flowing inside his body at this moment was no longer the previous Yuanli. Majestic, magnificent, vast, and permeated with a powerful and extremely powerful fighting spirit. Sora, what the is going on? Feeling the surging momentum of the pale golden vitality, Yi Wuck finally couldn't help but ask. Sure enough. The first benefit of condensing the origin of the holy law of fighting is that from now on, what you cultivate is no longer ordinary energy, but the holy way of war energy derived from the origin of the holy law. Kong's voice also became a little excited at this moment. Before Yi Wuck asked questions again, he continued, Sacred Tao Battle Aura is a kind of extremely high-quality heaven and earth elemental power, 10 times stronger than ordinary elemental power, condensed. 10 times, the lethality is also 10 times stronger. In other words, you who cultivated the saintly way of fighting spirit will now have the ability to fight at higher levels and defeat the strong with the weak. Fight by higher rank. Do you win with the weak? Yi Wuck's bright eyes brightened with Kong's explanation, feeling the golden red blood in his body and the battle aura of the holy way, and his heart was hot. With a smile at the corner of his mouth, Yi Wuck's calm eyes were filled with an extremely compelling edge in the depths. Fu Bo, the blood dragon jade you left me, I will definitely keep it. Murong Tian, I will use you as the first stepping stone for Yi Wuck to regain the light. The deep self-talk was like thunder, but it was full of incomparable confidence. The sky is clear and the sun hangs high. Shoo, hoo. Before the courtyard of Murong's children, 7 or 8 figures moved forward quickly, but the 2 leading them were a man and a woman. The man is sturdy, with a hideous scar on his left cheek, which is Murong Hai, while the woman is wearing a fiery red close-fitting silk skirt, which sets off her rugged Miomon figure so temptingly, but this woman has a pretty face and a pair what flickered in the beautiful eyes was hatred and humiliation. Who else was beside Murong Binglan? Immediately behind the 2 of them were several strong men of the younger generation of Murong's family. Although they were on the move, their eyes were mostly focused on Murong Binglan's beautiful figure, and the love in their eyes was undisguised. Binglan, you have made a fuss too much, and you need so many of us. Yes, I can suppress him with one hand. Wei Wuck really doesn't know the heights of the sky, and even dared to make an appointment with Murong Tian. It's almost a death. Murong Binglan, who was on the move, did not answer when he heard the words coming from behind him, but only faintly replied, This time I trouble everyone, Binglan will be rewarded afterwards. Oh, Binglan, look at what you said. Whoever dares to offend you in the Murong family is offending us. Don't grab it, teach Yi-Wook, I'll do it. Morong Hai narrowed his eyes and glanced at Morong Binglan next to him. There was a deep heat in his eyes, and he smiled slightly. He naturally guessed the purpose and reason of Morong Binglan's trip. This was also the reason why he came together. The lesson to Yi-Wook, to win a touch of favor in front of Morong Binglan, is too simple for Morong Hai. Swish swish. Stopping in front of a well-sized wooden house, Morong Binglan looked at the small building with sullen eyes. Morong Hai laughed and strode forward, and the Morong children standing behind Morong Binglan saw it. He stopped angrily. Trash, come out, I'm boring Morong Hai and want to play with you, this time, let you have 2 hands. An incomparable voice came from his mouth. The scar on his left face was slightly beating, and Morong Hai stood with his hand on his back, but he was a little wary in his heart. Although Yi-Wook has been abandoned, as far as he knows, apart from the public competitions in the past decade there are not a few Morong children who want to oppress this person, but none of them succeed. Squeak. The door of the wooden house opened, and a slender figure slowly walked out. It was Yi-Wook. Morong Hai took a closer look and suddenly felt that Yi-Wook at this time seemed a little different from the past. I said early in the morning which dog was ill in front of my door and barking, it turned out to be you, hee. Since the mad dog is ill, I will reluctantly clean up. People have not yet gone out, but words that are more maddening than Morong Hai spread all over here in an instant. Seeing Yi Wuqian coming out, Morong Binglan's eyes were like sharp needles, and he squinted to Yi Wuqian, but the latter turned a blind eye. Hearing Yi-Wook's words, Morong Hai's anger flashed off his face, but then he pressed it down, and the urn said, Wu Wu Wei, I hope you are half as capable as you speak, otherwise even if I let you have 2 hands, you will be no better, it's just rubbish. Walking slowly to a place 10 feet away from Morong Hai, Yi-Wook's bright eyes were so bright, he slowly raised his right hand, clenched his fist into a fist, and smiled leisurely, but there was an unconcealable schwanha in the laughter. Morong Hai, believe it or not, I can blow you up with 3 punches. Return of the War God Chapter 4, 3 punches are 3 punches. 3 punches blow me up. Ha 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 ha, Wu Wei, I thought you were really kind enough to fight Murangshan. It turned out that you were just crazy. Why, after 10 years of being a waste, you can't survive. Hee, waste is waste. It's okay to have some daydreams occasionally, but remember to clamp the tail, otherwise I might be upset someday and run over you with 1 finger. Ha ha ha. The scar on his left cheek trembled violently. Morong Tian looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. Yi-Wook's words seemed to him to be amusing. The laughter sounded one after another, and the 5 or 6 Morong children who came with Morong Binglan couldn't help but laugh. All of them looked exactly the same, sweeping past the long and independent Yi-Wook. Their eyes were full of disdain and contempt. Morong Binglan's red lips also moved slightly, and a joking smile appeared on her delicate face. She, who had been ashamed of having a marriage contract with Yi-Wook, had been brooding about it all these years. She is the daughter of Morong Chongqing and the princess of the Morong family. She has asked Morong Chongqing to withdraw her marriage contract with Yi-Wook countless times in private, but she has never succeeded. With repeated failures, Morong Binglan has Yi-Wook's disgust also accumulated again and again. In her heart, she believed that the reason for the failure must be Yi-Wook's unwillingness to break the marriage contract with her, and Yi-Wook still dreamed of waiting until he was 18 to marry her. Others couldn't talk about the marriage contract. Even though they hated and resented Yi-Wook in every way, Morong Binglan still had nothing to do until Morong Tian appeared. Morong Binglan is very fond of Morong Tian's clan brother. His talent is obvious to the whole Morong family, and his looks are also handsome. In addition to Morong Tian's inadvertent favor with her, Morong Binglan's heart has long been tied to Morong. In Tian's body, Morong Tian also made a logical statement to help her terminate the marriage contract with Yi-Wook. Only then is there the scene on the martial arts field, but people are not as good as the sky. Although everything is developing in the direction of hope, Morong Binglan originally expected Yi-Wook's humiliation, unwillingness, and crazy expression. Appearing, it was replaced by lightness and happiness, and even said to ask Morong Chongqing to withdraw the marriage contract. Under everyone's eyes, Yi-Wook's words made Morong Binglan almost fainted with anger, and the resentment towards Yi-Wook in her heart reached the extreme. Unexpectedly, this young man who had spent 10 years dared to make an appointment with Tian-gu. Although everyone thought that this was just a needless rebellion after Yi Wuck was forced, Morong Binglan didn't think so. She thought it was Yi Wuck's disgust for her dissolution of the marriage contract, and that she disgusted Morong Binglan. Yi Wuck, you dare to humiliate me face to face with a trash like you, and even dare to make an appointment with Brother Tian. Today, this lady will let you know what regret is. The chill filled her eyes, and the thoughts in her heart surged. Morong Binglan's playful smile slowly turned into a sneer. She wanted to watch Yi Wuck with her own eyes being stepped on the ground like a dead dog. Is it enough to laugh? Either start a fight or give way. Early in the morning, a good dog doesn't stand in the way. Really bad luck. While everyone was laughing, Yi Wuck slowly opened his mouth, raised his right fist and slowly lowered, standing with his hand behind, becoming calm and indifferent again. The brilliance and sharpness that had just disappeared seemed to have disappeared, but the bright eyes remained. Translucent, the breeze hits, the black martial arts is slightly brushed, the youth is independent, and the temperament is free. In Morong Hai's eyes, Yi Wuck's body was filled with an impenetrable aura at this moment. Compared with yesterday's arrogant domineering attitude of meeting Morong Tian in the martial arts field, what Yi Wuck now gave him is a kind of profound. The feeling of testing. As if taken aback by his own thoughts, Morong Hai suppressed his smile and glanced at Yi Wuck, his expression slowly becoming cold, his muscular body knotted, his fists raised slightly, and a vicious flash in his eyes. In the martial arts field yesterday, I was afraid that I would accidentally kill you if I shot too hard, so I defeated you with 3 strokes. Since you said 3 punches can blow me up, I don't need to show mercy today. Boom, OM. Look at the move. Earth Evil Tiger Punch. Chi and blood roared and vitality oscillated. Morong Hai's body suddenly jumped up, his tall body sprinted forward 3 steps, clenched his right fist, and yelled with a loud roar of tiger roar. Behind him even more, a 10-foot-sized fierce tiger appeared, with blood penetrating the skin, flesh, and muscles, and Morong Hai, who stepped into the 8-fold sky and bone-strengthening master, made no mercy. Roar. The stone slab under his feet shattered and turned into a tiger going down the mountain. Morong Hai blasted at Yi Wuck with a punch, and his fist slammed into the void suddenly. Zhongpin's masterful fist. Morong Hai is too worthy of incompleteness, right? It's a waste to deal with the 5-layer of the forged body like Weiwei. Who said no? But it deserves to be intact, and it's a good tongue. I think this punch is intact and has been lying on the bed for 3 months. In those 5 or 6 years, Morong's children were a little surprised when they saw that Morong Hai was a middle-class master. He didn't understand why he was only teaching a small waist. Morong Hai would be so serious. Red lips sneered endlessly. Only Morong Binglan, who was holding his arms around his chest, could vaguely see that Morong Hai seemed to be more than a simple lesson to Yi Wuck. Lie down for me. Accompanied by Morong Hai's big drink, the viciousness flashed in his eyes without concealing it. His fist had collapsed to within 10 feet of Yi Wuck's body. Yi Wuck still stood quietly, his eyes kept calm. Following Morong Hai's shot, his right hand slowly clenched into a fist, slowly lifting it from behind. Just as Morong Hai's fist was about to at the moment when he hit him, Yi Wuck punched out without any dullness. In Morong Binglan's happy eyes, the fists of Morong Hai and Yi Wuck, who were carrying the image of a tiger, slammed into one place. In an instant, the sound of fists struck out. Boom. However, in the next moment, an unbelievable expression flashed over Morong Binglan's beautiful face. How is this possible? Most JK New L Chapter D Unspecified Currency on #Nicole7Smith4net. How is this possible? The same word sounded in Morong Hai's heart, but his face was even more ugly than Morong Binglan, because he felt a strange but terrifying power from the plain fist of the teenager opposite. Ba ba ba. The soles of the feet rubbed against the slate violently. Morong Hai was backing back at the same speed as the previous attack on Yi Wuck. He tried his best to control his figure, but the weird force made him unable to do this. Ping ping ping. After 6 steps back, Morong Hai stopped his figure, and coincidentally stopped where he stood at the beginning. With 2 fists fighting, Morong Hai took 6 steps back. Looking back at Yi Wuck, he didn't even shake his body. Hiss. The sound of the air conditioning was constantly sounding, and the expressions of the 5 or 6 Morong children changed drastically, and they could hardly believe their eyes. This. What did I see? Fei Wook forced Morong Hai back with a punch. Is this an illusion? The powerful part of the divine tiger Ben Quan is to gather the strength of the whole body onto the double fists, which can hit twice as much strength as one's own body, but Wu Wei doesn't even shake his body. This. How is this possible? Should it be Morong Hai's subordinates showing mercy? The beautiful eyes of Morong Binglan, who had been holding her arms around her chest, flashed in disbelief, and then looked at Morong Hai. She wanted to know what was going on. Trembling. Morong Binglan immediately noticed that Morong Hai's right arm was trembling. Obviously, the punch he just made was definitely not because of his deliberate acting in mercy, but because he was really punched back by that trash boy. The expression on his face changed drastically, and Morong Hai stared at the opposite boy with a staring stare. The scar on his left cheek almost began to congest at this moment. Feeling the pain and numbness of his right arm, Morong Hai was struck by lightning at this moment. The power of the holy way of fighting spirit is really exciting. Muttering in a voice that only he could hear, Yi Wook looked at his right fist, his calm eyes became excited and sharp as a knife. Yi Wook. You are not the 5th heaven for bodybuilding. You are the 6th heaven for bodybuilding. A voice full of suspicion sounded from Morong Hai's mouth, and the shock in his heart needless to say. Through the punch just now, he suddenly discovered that Yi Wook's cultivation base was not at all for the body forging the 5 layers of heaven, but the forging of the 6 layers. Tianjin is great. But just yesterday, Yi Wook was only forging the 5 heavens. No, it should be said that in the past 10 years, Yi Wook has always been the cultivation base of the 5 heavens. But this is still not the point. The point is that Yi Wook, who has been forging the 6th heavenly layer, punched him back, who had already been promoted to the 8th heavenly bone refining master. This was the point that Morong Hai couldn't believe in. Leapfrogging challenges across 2 realms. How is this possible? I don't believe it. It's just a coincidence. I don't believe it. How could Morong Hai be pushed back by a trash? Earth Evil Tiger Punch. Tiger shatters the world. Roar. A huge roar of a tiger roared from behind Morong Hai, his eyes turned scarlet. Morong Hai stepped on his right foot, and the whole person rose to the sky, and the tiger behind him swallowed him like a tiger's head. A tragic aura emerged from Morong Hai. With Yi Wook's punch that forced him back, Morong Hai finally no longer kept it, spurring his whole body to cultivate, and hitting the killer move of the evil fist. Roar. As if a fishy wind was blowing, Morong Hai turned into a hideous and colorful tiger, with his fists like tiger claws, falling from the sky, tearing to Yi Wook. The fluctuations in the cultivation base of the 8th layer of the forging body caused Morong Binglan and the 5 or 6 Morong children present to change their complexions. Obviously Morong Hai's strength is still extremely strong. Earth Evil Tiger Punch. Unfortunately, I will too. This is the second punch. Tiger breaks the world. A burst of drink was like thunder. Following Morong Hai's move, Yi Wook, who had been standing still, had inexplicable eyes and a sharp expression. His body was surging with the battle energy of the Holy Tao. The origin of the Dantian Holy Law was throbbing, and the blood was surging. The miraculous power is gushing endlessly, as if the sky is swaying the ground fire, and earth-shaking changes have taken place. Rumble. The legs bend slightly, the whole body is swelling, and the golden red blood is rushing. Yi Wook's feet are also on the ground, and the image of the tiger will also appear behind him, which is different from the gorgeous tiger that Morong Hai has transformed. A golden tiger. The head of the golden tiger roared. Yi Wook looked at the gorgeous tiger descending from the sky and attacking him. His 4 claws seemed to trample on the void, and stepped up into the sky. The 2 tigers roared endlessly, and their vitality poured in all directions. In an instant, 2 tigers crashed into one place. Boom. Roar, rumble. The entire surrounding area was filled with pale golden vitality, and no one could see it. Only 2 tigers roared endlessly, seeming to be fighting together, and the momentum was terrifying. Roar. Suddenly, a tiger roared to the sky with pain and unwillingness, and then in Morong Binglan's eyes, a huge tiger image shot down. Before landing, I heard a "Pala," the tiger image shattered. Splitting apart, one of the figures fell to the ground very embarrassed. The beautiful eyes were round, her blushing lips were bitten white by her teeth, and the bewildered figure fell in her eyes. It was Morong Hai. Boom! With his feet on the ground, the emptiness and pain in his body made Morong Hai almost unable to stand up straight. At this moment, his left hand stroking his chest, his face pale, his scars kept shaking, and his eyes looked at the figure in the sky, flashing inside. It was no longer scarlet and unwilling, but a touch of deep jealousy and fear. Fist strength tore away the pervasive vitality. Yi Wuck's figure reappeared again, his eyes were like electricity, sweeping towards Morong Hai. The whole person was also falling, his face was handsome, his posture was strong, and his momentum was like a rainbow. At this moment, Yi Wuck was like a of war. General. Morong Hai, there is a third punch, see if I can blow you up. As soon as Yi Wuck touched the ground with his right foot, he stepped forward with strength, and raised his right fist again, and his whole body was like wind and electricity, and he rushed towards Morong Hai at extremely fast speed. The fists are surging, and the void slams. Feeling the dominance and fierceness of this fist, Morong Hai's eyes became more jealous, and the thought of escape came into his heart. But he glanced at Morong Binglan and found that the latter's expression was extremely shocked, her delicate body trembled, her beautiful eyes staring at Yi Wuck, as if he had seen a ghost. Yi Wuck. These three words burst out in his mouth. Morong Hai's eyes flashed a vicious look, suppressing the thought of escape in his heart, running all the vitality in his body, blood trembling, his right hand clenched into a fist, towards the direction of Yi Wuck's attack punch. Boom! There was another sound of two fists intersecting. Yi Wuck's eyes were extremely sharp. Morong Hai's body first shook, then his face flushed. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out. Morong Hai's body rolled backwards. This time he could no longer control his figure, and fell straight to the slate ground. The huge force and inertia made him still roll back until he reached Morong. In front of Binglan. Puff! Can't help but spit out another mouthful of blood, but this mouthful of blood sprayed on Morong Binglan's red dress. At this time, Morong Hai was lying in front of Morong Binglan like a dead dog, his face extremely pale, but he didn't even have the strength to get up. Morong Binglan's pretty face turned pale, and the evil spirit in her eyes had long since disappeared, but a touch of disbelief and fear surged. She looked at Yi Wuck, who was calm and standing still again, and her heart felt like a huge wave that could not be calmed down. The 5 or 6 Morong children standing behind Morong Binglan almost had their legs weakened, their throats were dry, and they couldn't say a word, their expressions were full of horror. Standing calmly, Yi Wuck's bright gaze was as calm as water, looking at Morong Hai who wanted to get up desperately, and said lightly, "If you say 3 punches will blow you will blow you 3 times." Immediately took a step forward and walked straight to the direction of Morong Binglan. "Yi Wuck. What do you want to do? This young lady warns you, don't mess around. Otherwise." Perceiving Yi Wuck walking towards him, a panic flashed across Morong Binglan's cold, pale face. Morong Hai, who was forging the 8th heaven and strengthening the bones, couldn't even catch Yi Wuck's 3 punches. Could not be Yi Wuck's opponent. His plump chest trembled violently, watching Yi Wuck walking step by step blankly. Morong Binglan tried his best to calm herself down, but the left light swept over Morong Hai, who was struggling like a dead dog, and Morong Binglan. There was a chill in my heart involuntarily. However, Yi Wuck just quietly walked by Morong Binglan's side, and even from beginning to end, he didn't even look at this beautiful lady of the Morong family. Ignore. Yi Wuck's actions fell in Morong Binglan's eyes, causing the humiliation and resentment in his heart to roll again and intensify. The emotion seemed to have reached an extreme and suppressed the fear in her heart. Morong Binglan suddenly turned around and screamed at Yi Wuck's back, "Yi Wuck! You trash! You wait for a month later. Trample you under your feet." Morong Binglan's words naturally reached Yi Wuck's ears, but he did not stop, only a pair of eyes looming sharp. "Murangshan. Hee, I really can't wait. Search coolsmith.com on WeChat, follow the name of the post work, and read the full text for free. The fastest update. You can also get 20 excavators. KJ_DS_icon. Return of the War God Chapter 5, Siener, the sun, the moon and the stars are forbidden. Call out. Yuanli shocked, leaving the Murong family's children's courtyard, Yiwuk's figure became erratic, he seemed to have spotted a certain direction, and sprinted towards there. Hee, that Murong Binglan seems to resent you a lot. Kong's slightly playful voice sounded in Yiwuk's mind. The scene of Kong just now was naturally seen in his eyes. He was not surprised that Yiwuk beat Murong Hai with 3 punches. Because in the night that just passed, the golden red blood returned to the flesh, the condensed Yiwuk cultivation base of the holy law was finally raised again after 10 years of stagnation. Forging the body to the peak of the 6 heavens, refining tendons. This is Yiwuk's current realm, but this is just the beginning. The power of the battle spirit of the Holy Way was undoubtedly revealed through the battle just now. Crossing the 2 realms to fight and defeat Murong Hai is the best proof. Therefore, if you are not sure, how could Yiwuk go to meet Murong Tian in the martial arts field yesterday? After a month, he will personally take back what belongs to him. Of course, 1 month is really too short. Murong Tian has now stepped into the Shifan heroic realm, condensing the soul moon, and his cultivation is so powerful that it is far from Murong Hai's comparison. It is not easy to defeat him. But this is exactly what Yiwuk wanted. Without huge pressure, how could there be unlimited power? After 10 years of annihilation, he was like a beautiful jade carved through time, and now he releases a bright light again. It's nothing more than a joke when I was young. I finally broke off the marriage contract yesterday, but I can still be quiet. After all, she is the daughter of Uncle Evergreen, so I won't do anything to her. The fast-moving Yiwuk answered Kong's words, and then left the matter behind, narrowing his eyes, because at the end of his gaze was the vast ancient primitive mountain forest. This place was visited by Yiwuk once 10 years ago. Empty, 10 years have passed, the sun, the moon, and the stars have not been discovered by others. Looking at the primitive mountains and forests in the distance, Yiwuk spoke lightly, with a hint of inexplicable tone in his tone. The cave where the sun, moon and stars are forbidden is extremely secret, and most people can't find it at all. If you didn't accidentally fall from it back then, you wouldn't be able to find it. Kong's answer is extremely affirmative. Forget it, it's useless to think more about it. I'll know it when I get there. I hope that among the remaining moon and star bands, there will really be things that can improve my cultivation. Sun, moon and stars are forbidden. 10 years ago, Yiwuk encountered emptiness during the Japanese ban, and the remaining moon bands and star bands might also contain valuable treasures. This is also the goal of Yiwuk's trip. After all, it only has 1 month. If there is no adventure, and with his own penance, no matter how high his talent is, he cannot grow to a realm that can match Murangshan, let alone defeat. Call out. The speed at Yiwuk's feet was 3 points faster, and the surrounding phoenix rocks could not help being left behind by him. At this speed, he could go to the cave where the sun, moon and stars were forbidden in a short time. What? There was a sudden pause under his feet, and Yiwuk suddenly felt a familiar wave flashing in front of him, and then a heartfelt smile flashed across his face. At the same time, a clear and moving voice sounded softly. Big Brother Yi. In front of Yiwuk's gaze, next to a huge strange rock, a beautiful figure in a white dress with a white and flawless close-fitting skirt stood upright. His black hair was like a waterfall sprinkled on the fragrant shoulders, and his skin was as bright as jade and white. Luminous, pure and delicate features, a pair of water-like eyes glowing with joy. The girl who suddenly appeared was like a little fairy who fell from the sky. She was 14 or 5 years old, exquisite and lovely, with a small red mouth smiling. Looking at Yiwuk, her eyes were smiling like a crescent moon, which was extremely moving. Swish! With a light step on the spot, the girl soared into the air, her white skirt flew, her 3,000 hair fluttered, and she passed a distance of nearly 3 feet in a flash, and stood in front of Yiwuk pretty. Seeing the girl approaching, Yiwuk's smile even worsened. He suddenly stepped forward, raised his right hand, gently rubbed the girl's soft black hair, and said with a smile, "Sienna, you are messing around again. Run away, this Shugu forest is not a safe place. Be careful when you encounter a big tiger and eat you." Sienna, whose hair was messed up by Yi Wuk, was not at all annoyed. Feeling the temperature of Yi Wuk's right hand, the girl's shiny eyes were full of smiles. "Brother Yi, you still," said Sienna. Sienna hasn't seen Brother Yi for a long time. Sienna's voice was crisp, like a clear spring flowing with thumps, which seemed to wash away the fatigue in people's hearts, and made people unable to help but fall in love with this fairy-like girl. The two smiled at each other, and a deep warmth radiated. In Yi Wuk's eyes, this slightly mysterious girl was like his sister, lovely and kind. Sienna, one of Murong Shuangshu. She is said to be mysterious because she, like Yi Wuk, was fostered in Murong's family, but no one seems to know her life experience and origin. Her identity in Murong's family is extremely special. Even if she is Murong Chongqing, she loves Sienna. There is a plus. However, Yi Wuk found that even though Murong Chongqing was good to Sienna, he still had a faint respect for Sienna. This feeling made Yi Wuk very surprised, but this did not prevent him from getting close to Sienna. The entire Murong family knew that Yi Wuk's trash was the only one who could chat and laugh with Sienna and behave intimately. This was not immune to the jealousy of many Murong children. Because in their eyes, Sienna doesn't seem to have a trace of human fireworks. Sooner or later, she will fly away quietly like a fairy. This is a mysterious girl who doesn't belong here. Big Brother Yi, Sienna is going back first, remember to find Sienna. As if she had noticed something, Sienna smiled and stalked away with a refreshing fragrance, leaving Yi Wuk with a beautiful and perfect back. Sienna's sudden appearance and departure made Yi Wuk smile. This little Nizi is really smart. How could he not understand that Sienna must have discovered the improvement of his cultivation level and rushed to the forest of ancient ancients? She must have asked for something, and then left, so as not to delay his time. This little girl, it's not easy. It's strange to say that Murong's family had you first and then her. I don't know how long I've lived, but I opened my mouth and hit the nail on the head. Call out. Yi Wuk, who was no longer delaying, swelled the spirit of the holy path in his body, and hurried away along the very winding and rugged mountain road. A quarter of an hour later. Wow! Feeling the huge roar in the incoming ears, Yi Wuk, who stopped on a high ground, looked down, with a faint throb in his eyes. The huge sound of water roared like a white sword straight down. The place where Yi Wuk stood was just upstream of a huge waterfall. The waterfall, which is 10 feet high, is overflowing with water, and the flowing water is endless, gathering in the river below, magnificent and amazing. This is a waterfall hidden in the forest of ancient ancients, and it is here that Yi Wuk, 10 years ago, discovered the cave where the sun, moon and stars are forbidden. Now, after 10 years, he has come here again. At this moment, calm also remained silent. This is also the place where he once existed. Yi Wuk stood quietly, seeming to remember. After 10 breaths, suddenly his eyes moved, his feet stepped on the water, and his whole body was suddenly exerted. Jumped down towards the bottom of the waterfall. Ha! Boom, walala. The body was in contact with the diarrhea of the water, and the huge impact came with bursts of pain, but Yi Wuk didn't care at all. The golden red blood was surging endlessly, and his arms interacted in front of him, so that he could recognize what is after the waterfall. Position. Snapped. With the force of a leap and the impact of the current, Yi Wuk kicked his legs, and his whole body broke through the waterfall instantly and disappeared into the waterfall. Call. With a long sigh of relief, Yi Wuk steadied his body. At this moment, he was already in the middle of a wide and tall cave, and the original waterfall had just become a natural gateway to cover the cave. The cave where the sun, moon and stars are forbidden is hidden within this waterfall. The light in the cave was still clear. Yi Wuk walked slowly along the only path. The memory of 10 years ago slowly emerged. He followed the direction in the memory and walked to the end of the path, and a turning curve appeared in front of him. Without hesitation, moved into it. Ha! 3 kinds of brilliant light suddenly appeared in Yi Wuk's eyes, and Yi Wuk's mood became a little excited at this moment. Because 5 feet in front of him, there is a wonderful sight shining brilliantly. The whole body is blue-gray, and the long mottled stone platform appears to have existed here since ancient times. In the middle of it, there are 3 huge light groups floating up and down, as if breathing, 3 different colors. The light swayed out from it, magnificent and magnificent, beautiful. The blue light cluster on the left is like a faint blue star, swaying with deep meaning while slightly beating. The light cluster on the right is like a silvery white moon, sprinkling a faint silvery white light on itself, illuminating itself, as if accumulated ancient years. But right above the stars and the moon, there are golden light clusters that have become dimmed, but the remaining aura is still dazzling, and the world is clear, like the scorching sun. Looking at the dim sun-forbidden light group, Yi Wuck's eyes flashed with throbbing, and a sigh from Kong sounded in his head. The sun, the moon, and the stars are forbidden. It has been 10 years since we were back to this place. As if feeling the loneliness and inexplicable emptiness, Yi Wuck said, I was only 5 years old at the time. The sudden departure of Fu Bo made me sad. I wanted to catch up with him crazily, and stumbled to Shiguji Sen, but accidentally fell down the waterfall and came here. I accidentally lifted the Japanese ban, I met you who were about to dissipate, and even got the origin of the fighting holy law. Now I want to come, all this is like good luck. Yi Wuck was full of emotion. 10 years of extinction made his will polished extremely bright and firm, and it also allowed him to slowly grow from a child to a teenager. It's just that the hardships and difficulties are beyond imagination. The strongest Japanese prohibition seals me and the origin of the fighting holy law, so in the remaining month prohibition and star prohibition, they must each seal valuable good things. Kong's words sounded lightly, but Yi Wuck clearly felt a trace of perplexed grief. The sun, the moon and the stars are fortune to me, but to Kong, it is a cage. Who is it that seals the void in the sun, the moon and the stars? The thoughts in his heart flashed away, and Yi Wuck said softly, Kong, in the past 10 years, our 2 lives are one. Perhaps, in the future, we will still have 2 lives. Therefore, your affairs have always been mine. The past of you and me, one day, I will find out, this is my promise from Yi Wuck. Although the young man's voice was very soft, the persistence and determination contained in it made people move. Obviously, he didn't expect Yi Wuck to say these words. Kong seemed to be taken aback for a moment, and then laughed, but there was a hint of warmth in the laughter. Yi Wuck and Kong, the one who doesn't know who he is, the one who has forgotten who he is, the world is like good fortune, who can say clearly. 10 years ago, I don't know why you were able to lift the sun ban, but now, with the origin of the holy law of combat, you want to lift the moon ban and star ban as simple as eating and drinking water. OM. // J%Smith WF at U first V. Boom, wow. The golden red blood surging up, the holy way of war chi trickles, feeling the strong aura of the origin of the fighting holy law. Yi Wuck's mouth is slightly tilted, and with a big step, his fists are surrounded by the holy way of fighting energy, and he is straight the moon forbidden light group and the star forbidden light group. Boom, boom. Almost a loud explosion exploded, and the entire cave was surrounded by pale golden vitality. Boom, boom. 2 subtle breaking sounds followed. In Yi Wuck's fiery eyes, moon forbidden and star forbidden were broken one after another. At the same time, 2 things appeared in the original place of moon forbidden and star forbidden. It was a dark rectangular box and a ball of red light filled with fragrance. Search coolsmith.com on WeChat, follow the name of the post work, and read the full text for free. The fastest update. You can also get 20 excavators. Return of the War God Chapter 6, 7-star refining box, human-level explosive pill. Seeing you forbidden and star forbidden being blasted by himself, 2 things of different shapes emerged. Yi Wuck couldn't help but his eyes lit up. He already had some guesses in his heart as to why the flaming red light group was filled with fragrance, so he first walked towards the dark rectangular box. This kind of thing aroused the curiosity in Yi Wuck's heart. Tentacles are warm and cool. Yi Wuck put his right hand on the surface of the black box lightly. The first thing he felt was the temperature of the object. As his right hand slowly whirled, he felt the texture of the black box. The tentacles are warm and cool, and the surface texture seems extremely smooth to the touch, but the rough lines can be clearly felt. What kind of material is this box body made of? Why is there such a contradictory feeling? His eyes flashed, he stretched out a hand again, and with a slight effort, Yi-Wook easily took the quietly floating black box in his hand. About 4 feet long, 1 foot wide, dark black, rectangular, almost weightless. What is this? I carefully looked at the dark long box in his hand. Although nothing could be seen, the feeling that this thing gave Yi-Wook was extremely peculiar. It seemed that the dark long box in his hand should have been so heavy. Huh. Some patterns seemed to be carved on the back. Turning the box body over, Yi-Wook suddenly found some patterns on the other side of the box body. Sora, do you think these patterns look like stars in the sky? They seem to be connected together. Yi-Wook's slightly suspicious voice sounded, and the box on the other side of the black long box was engraved with 7 vague patterns, which were connected from top to bottom, as if it were a spoon. This is the Big Dipper. Sora, who was silent for a long time, said slowly. Hearing Kong's words, Yi-Wook moved his eyes and looked carefully. No wonder the 7-star-like pattern is very familiar. It seems that the caster of this box carved the Big Dipper on it when casting it, but it is very bleak, maybe it's just a pattern. Looking at the Big Dipper like a spoon, Yi-Wook subconsciously touched the position of the first star Tianshu star among the Big Dipper. The moment Yi-Wook put his hand up, there was a sudden bright light before his eyes, and then he seemed to be in a shining starry sky. The whole body is full of dazzling stars, countless stars up and down, an ancient atmosphere that seems to condense time and eternity is permeated. However, in the bright starry sky, there are 7 extremely bright big stars connected together, and the brilliance that radiates is directly reflected in Yi-Wook's eyes. It is the Big Dipper. Beidou conferred God. 7 stars refining Tao. At the same time, an extremely old voice resounded, getting louder and louder in this bright starry sky, spreading farther and farther, and finally even drowned the entire starry sky. OM. The eyes were dark again, as if waking up from a dream. When Yi-Wook opened his eyes again, he found that he was still in the cave. Call. He exhaled heavily. Yi-Wook's face was shocked, and the scenes in front of him made Yi-Wook feel extremely real. He looked at the secluded long box in his hand again, and a glimmer of brilliance flashed in his eyes. 7-star refining box, what a 7-star refining box. Just now your divine soul space suddenly trembled, and then fell into a strange state, like an illusion. It seems that the box in your hand is not a mortal thing. Kong's slightly peculiar words sounded, living in the soul space in Yi-Wook's mind. How could he not discover the state of Yi-Wook just now? Right now, Yi-Wook told Kong Ting about the scene just now. Big Dipper conferred God, 7 stars refining Tao, Big Dipper 7 stars, old voice. This seems to be a mystery from the cosmic starry sky. The 7 stars refining Tao box and I were sealed in the sun, moon and stars forbidden. Could it be that I and the 7 stars in the past the master of the refining box has a slight relationship? Or, in the past, I was the master of the 7-star refining box. So where do I come from? The speculation of Kong was heard in Yi-Wook's heart, and his mind about this incident coincided with Kong's speculation, but this matter was more bizarre, and it was not something the two of them could explore right now. After the scene just now, the 7-star refining box drew a mysterious symbol in Yi-Wook's eyes. It is completely integrated, except for the 2 small round buttons on the left and the right. There is no gap, as if naturally formed. There must be a secret in the 7-star refining box, but it is temporarily impossible to explore, but one day after I have a high level of cultivation, I may be able to unlock the secret at that time. Speaking silently from Yi-Wook's mouth, Kong also hummed softly. Obviously, it is not a wise choice to entangle this matter now. There is a 7-star refining box in the moon forbidden, so let me see what is in the star forbidden. Is it as I thought? Standing the 7-star refining box on the ground, Yi-Wook's eyes swept to the other side of the fiery red light group, the blazing heat in his eyes, unconcealed, stepped forward gently. The fragrance from the fiery red light group shocked Yi-Wook's body, and then his whole body seemed to be traction. The Holy Way's battle energy in his body seemed to move a little faster at this moment, and the whole body was relaxed. Peering with his right hand, he reached into the fiery red light group, and within Yi Wuxi's perception, he touched a warm and smooth thing that was shining and exuding temperature. After grasping the truth, he stretched his right hand back and opened the palm of his hand. A hint of joy was drawn across Yi Wuxi's face. It really is a pill. In the palm of his hand, there was a longan-sized grain lying quietly, the whole body was red and clear, and there was a flash of red light flashing from time to time in it, which was exactly a pill. Tsk Tusk, the pill is divided by grade, and each grade is divided into upper, middle, and lower grades. In the entire Murong family, the pill that Murong children usually give out when they practice is only the first grade lower grade melting pill and blood. Pills, the former refines the vitality of the body, while the latter reconciles the qi and blood in the body. The two pill medicines taken by all Murong children need to consume the Murong family's enormous resources to purchase each month. The first grade intermediate level pill must be obtained by Murong's own ability. This is the purpose of the Murong family's competition once a month. One is to test the combat power, and the other is to obtain a better pill. So those Murong children who are more talented and powerful often try their best to defeat their opponents and get better medicine. However, some geniuses who were born with extraordinary talents don't need to get the pill through Dobby. Their pill and exercise are the best. All they need to do is to break through, and then break through. In Murong's house, that Murong Tian is like that. Without an endless supply of high-quality pills and powerful techniques, how could Murong Tian lead other Murong children so much at the age of 18, condensing the moon and breaking through to the realm of Shifan Ing Pao? But Murong Tian's own qualifications were indeed outstanding for this excision, and the pill and the exercises were absolutely indispensable. Feeling the temperature of the red pill in his hand, Yi Wuxi's thoughts flowed. 10 years ago, he was treated more favorably than Murong Tian, but since he chose to die, all this has disappeared. If it were not for Murong Chongqing, in these 10 years, Yi Wuxi didn't even have the chance to obtain the Spirit Rong pill and Qi Blood pill. Waste, no one will ever take mercy. With this appearance, this pill is at least at the second-tier upper level, and it is very likely to be a third-level lower-level pill. Looking at the pill in his hand, Yi Wuxi distinguished it carefully. He was not an alchemist, and he could only say that he had some understanding of the types of pill and did not have a deep understanding. But this does not prevent him from making a general distinction. If this pill is really a 3-category pill for improving vitality, then it will be the biggest harvest of his trip. Because even at Murong's house, the best pill that Murong Tian took was only the first-rank high-level and the second-rank low-level. This is a third-rank lower-tier pill, a human-level explosive pill. Kong's tone was very certain, and it sounded in Yi Wuxi's mind. Oh. Kong, do you know something about pill? Well, in the remaining memory, there seems to be some pictures of pill. Although I forgot the pill for refining, I still have the ability to distinguish pill. Surprised by Kong's such ability, Yi Wuxi couldn't help but feel a little delighted. If he needs any kind of pill in the future, just ask Kong directly, it is simply a living encyclopedia of pill. This made Yi Wuxi more curious about what kind of existence Kong was before. Coolsmith/net permanent Piet free. Fei Can. Novel unspecified currency. Human-level explosive pill, what is the effect of this pill? Can it increase the vitality of the body? Yi Wuxi asked the most critical question. Hearing Yi Wuxi's question, Sora seemed to pause for a while before speaking slowly. Human-level explosive pill, a third-rank lower level, has only one medicinal effect, which is to increase the body's vitality of the user to 3 levels and limit forging. A monk of physical condition. As soon as this remark came out, Yi Wuxi's heart was shocked. Do you mean that if I take this pill, the holy path war energy in my body can immediately increase by 3 levels? Theoretically it means. What does this mean? Kong's answer was not as straightforward as he had imagined, which made Yi Wuxi a little confused. In this world, no power is gained out of thin air, just like you have paid the price of 10 years of extinction in order to condense the origin of the fighting holy law. Although this human-level explosive pill can increase the vitality of the user, there is a premise. What premise? The empty words did not cause Yi Wuxi to hesitate at all. There is no such thing as a frontal reply to Yi Wuqian, but nothing but a leisurely opening. If a monk wants to improve his cultivation in the physical training stage, he must thoroughly refine the skin, flesh, tendons, bones, and marrow, and finally achieve a perfect physical training. The unity of vitality and chi and blood will enable him to break through the realm of washing. But the path of cultivation is gradual, and there is no shortcut. Even if there is, it will inevitably have to pay a huge price. Among them, there is a lot of risk. And the existence of this human-level explosive pill is a physical state. A shortcut for, without having to fight the flesh and blood, a small pill can directly increase 3 levels, but if it is really that simple, there will be no such thing as a reward for one's work. Skin, meat, muscles, bones, and marrow, these 5 realms of body forging are the 5 levels that monks must pass. Each breakthrough will be accompanied by a burst of intense pain. If you pass it, you will be promoted successfully. If the pulse is damaged, it will become a useless person. Therefore, the cultivation is step by step, while the human-level explosive pill is to increase 3 levels at once. In other words, you are now forging the 6th heaven and strengthening the muscles. If you take this pill, you will be able to become the bodybuilding 9-layered marrow refiner, but this continuous breakthrough 3 levels, from the bone refinement to the marrow refinement, how great the pain and risk will be. Yi Wuk quietly listened to Kong's words, and his expression became serious with Kong's words, but within Kong's perception, Yi Wuqian didn't have the slightest fear. Serving a human-level explosive pill, there is a 50% chance of breaking through successfully, and a 50% chance of breaking the body and dying. This is a gambling. After speaking the last sentence, Kong stopped speaking, and he gave Yi Wuk the right to choose. Snapped. With his legs bent, Yi Wuk sat on the ground, sitting cross-legged, and gently pinched this 3rd-rank lower-level human spirit explosive pill with his right hand. His face was leisurely, as if for this pill that might make him burst into death. Without any fear, he suddenly smiled and said, "Sora, do you know? The most profound truth I understand in these 10 years of extinction is that besides persistence and unwavering belief, there is another kind of if you choose, you will continue unswervingly. Even if it is a dead end, I will have a bit of life." The young man sitting cross-legged has a handsome face, and his bright eyes are full of firmness and perseverance. His words may sound too naive to those who have gone through the vicissitudes of life, but no one knows that 10 years of extinction has made the power of the young man's mind become how powerful it is. Even if this point is empty, I don't know. 10 years ago, at the moment when I chose to die, I understood that to find Fu Bo and to understand my life experience, I must have strong strength, so as long as it is any price I can afford, I will without hesitation. Nirongshan wants to the blood dragon jade, how can I let him do what he wants? Gamble on his life? Then I will bet. I will not die, I will succeed. Slightly paranoid words circulated in the cave, empty and silent. He didn't say a word, but quietly watched the young man swallow the pill with the dual power of death and hope in his mouth. Yi Wuk couldn't see it. In the depths of his mind, a golden lightning gleamed with magnificent light. In that lightning, a young man with a vague appearance was sitting cross-legged and he could only hear a sigh. No shortage, you have to survive. Search coolsmith.com on WeChat, follow the name of the post work, and read the full text for free. The fastest update. You can also get 20 excavators. KJ_DS_icon. Return of the War God Chapter 7, I am waiting for you in the 100 Cities War. As soon as the pill was taken in, it turned into a scent of heat that rushed down from the throat and rushed into Yi Wuk's body. Suddenly, an extremely violent force exploded in his body along with astonishing heat. The only positive version number of the he is Olev pirated asterisk. At this moment, Jin Hong Qi and Sage Dao War Qi seemed to perceive this hot and huge force from the outside, and under the operation of Yi Wuk's mind, they all rushed towards the torrent of medicinal power erupted by the human-level explosive spirit pill. Feeling the boil in his body in an instant, Yi Wuk was expressionless, hugged Yuan Shi, and used all his thoughts on commanding the golden red blood and the holy way of fighting energy. He wanted to use his own blood and energy try to dissolve the power of the human-level explosive pill and gradually absorb it. This process may be extremely dangerous, or it may really be a gambling as Kong said, but Yi Wuk has already suppressed the fear in his heart. At this moment, all he has left is to do his best to bet. Boom. Just when Ewok single-mindedly controlled his body's golden red chi and blood and holy Tao's fighting energy, the medicinal power of the human-level explosive pill began to explode. Boom, boom, boom. My body, skin, flesh, and tendons shook together. Although he closed his eyes tightly, Ewok still clearly felt every change in his body. Every inch of his skin began to tremble gently, and his physical body began to tremble violently, and within his body, the veins that had been refined were also squirming. Boom. To Ewok's surprise, the power of the human-level explosive pill was much stronger than he had imagined, and its spread was extremely fast. After a few breaths, it almost flooded Ewok's body. Every inch of flesh and blood and veins suddenly merged with the golden red blood and the holy way of war. With a muffled grunt, a huge tearing pain that burst out of the body suddenly drowned Ewok's mind, as if a giant was looting and destroying his body at this time. Wherever he went, his muscles and veins were knotted, his flesh and blood boiled, and he had just swallowed a human-level explosive pill in just 10 breaths, and the pain that Ewok had endured was unfolded and reached its extreme. And, this is just the beginning. Human-level explosive pill. As the name suggests, it is this pill that brings an extremely violent power. The human body is inherently fragile, and a slight shock or injury can cause serious injury or even death. As a lower level of the third rank, although the human-level explosive spirit pill can increase the strength of the body-forging cultivator by 3 levels, the cultivator must bear the risks brought by this pill, one of which is skin, meat, muscles, bones, and marrow. Concussion at the same time, and moreover, it combines the pain of breakthrough into one, and uses violent medicinal power to attack the bone-refining and marrow-refining realm. If you fail to succeed, you will become benevolent. After the cultivation base rose sharply, Yuanli soared by 3 levels, couldn't survive the broken veins, and burst into death. The probability is 5 to 5. This is the meaning of the so-called gambling. Ewok was already unable to think about it. His mind was overwhelmed with great pain, and his body sitting cross-legged was covered by the pale golden sacred fighting spirit, and a wave of violent power vented out of his body. Pour the oil in the middle and start burning thoroughly. The medicinal power brought by the human-level explosive pill, the golden red energy and blood, and the holy way war energy combined into a powerful force that wandered through Ewok's body. The periosteum trembled, and every bone was squeezed crazily. In this, the pain of bone breaking continued to occur. Ewok felt that his bones were constantly being crushed and recovered instantly, back and forth, which was tempting to death. And the most critical refining stage of the body-forging realm also started in this arrogant and overbearing way, and a feeling of pain that was 10 times stronger than before hit his heart. If it hadn't been the pain of condensing the origin of the holy law, Ewok must have lost consciousness at this moment. Holding tightly to the last trace of clarity in the spirit platform, Yi Wuwei struggled with it, using his last thoughts to subconsciously run the power of golden red blood, sacred way fighting energy, and human-level explosive pill power. The bearing capacity of the flesh and veins has reached a saturated state, and if there is any carelessness next, it will be the result of a body explosion. However, under the intense pain, it seemed like a blessing to the soul, but Ewok gradually entered a wonderful state, without thoughts, as if sleeping in a dream. Although the pain was still intense, it was better than the bone strengthening and refining just now. The feeling that life is not as good as death brought by marrow is better. At this moment, the amount of violent converging came to Ewok's dantian, and then rushed in with a swift and violent momentum, and this force instantly came into contact with the fighting Holy Law Origin Light Group. Boom! The source of the mysterious and throbbing Holy Law was originally ignorant of the power that swept through Ewok's body, allowing it to change every inch of Ewok's body, muscles, veins, and bone marrow, but at this moment this amount of violence seemed to be after finishing the refinement of Ewok's flesh, muscle, and bone marrow, he rushed into the pubic area. This action seemed to violate the majesty of the origin of the Holy Law. The majestic, magnificent, and most powerful atmosphere of war burst out of the light group of the origin of the Holy Law at the moment when the violent force entered the dantian, and it would destroy the origin of the Holy Law. It introduced the source of the Holy Law, swallowing it instantly like a whale swallowing a cow drink, and then was released again by the source of the Holy Law. It's just that the power that reappeared no longer ravaged wildly. Although it was still huge, it became gentle and delicate. It rushed out of the dantian and returned to Yi Wuck's body, quietly moisturizing and washing the skin, muscles, bones and bones like a moisturizer. Under the magical effect of the origin of the holy law, Yi Wuck finally surpassed the violent power of the human-level explosive spirit pill. Yi Wuck didn't have the slightest feeling about this. His whole mind was immersed in that kind of wonderful realm. Without thinking about it, naturally he couldn't find that his aura was getting stronger bit by bit. The red blood returned to the flesh again, accompanied by that gentle and delicate power, quietly changing every part of Yi Wuck's flesh. With a 55th bet, Yi Wuck won the bet because of the origin of the holy law. Wow! Yi Wuck, who was sitting cross-legged in the cave, was full of brilliance, and the spirit space was also extremely calm. Kong seemed to have lost all his aura, and the pale golden light of Xingdao's battle spirit enveloped it, as if forming a huge golden cocoon. Yi Wuck didn't know that when he succeeded in breaking the cocoon, there would be a huge surprise waiting for him. Time passed bit by bit. There was no years of cultivation, and there was no sound in the cave. What was left was a figure sitting cross-legged surrounded by pale golden light. Boom rumble. Wow! Amazing water pouring down, the torrent of the waterfall never stops. However, on the shore downstream of the waterfall, there are two young figures opposing each other. One has his fists like fire and is red, and looks like 17 or 18 years old, the other is indifferent and independent with a long sword on his back, a few years younger than the previous one. Year old. Behind the young man with his fists like fire was beating a round of light silver meniscus at the same height. This person was indeed a powerful person in the Shifan heroic realm who condensed the moon. Elegant ministers, they all say that you are the celestial wizard of the main sword-forging city. You have an amazing aptitude in swordsmanship, and you can even fight at a higher level. How about letting me see it today? The young man who gathered his fists like fire suddenly said, his tone was cold and mixed with jealousy, but under this jealousy there was a burst of happiness. The demeanor in his mouth, the young man with a long sword on his back, with a cold face, standing with his hand held, faintly exuding a kind of extraordinary demeanor, like a hidden edge. The handsome minister's eyes were shining brightly, and he glanced at the young man with his fists like fire, and quietly spoke, his voice was extremely clear, "You are not worthy." These three words fell in the ears of the cohesive youth, as if thundering. "I'm not worthy. Ha 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 ha, I am Yu Qingfeng, a genius in the main city of Zihua." At the age of 18, Condensed Poyu stepped into the realm of Shifan Ningpu. The style minister. "How dare you say that I am not worthy? Court death." Like a wild cat with blown-up fur, Yu Qingfeng suddenly sternly smirked. It seemed that the three words of a handsome minister hit the taboo in his heart and made him thunderous. "Charming minister. Originally, I just wanted to play with you today. When I waited for the 100 Cities War to take care of you, I didn't expect you to provoke me. Good, this is the boundary of the main city of Longguang. Kill you, no one knows, die. Purple fire burning heaven fist. Burning western heaven. Boom. A burst of fiery red vitality transpired from Yu Qingfeng's body, and Poyu suddenly shined behind him, burning a sea of flames all over his body, and his fists entrained the raging fire, turning into two fire wheels, blasting towards the elegant minister. The violent high temperature seemed to burn even the surrounding space, and Yu Qingfeng's eyes flashed with pleasure. "I'm going to see how you, who has a perfect body for training, fight against my heroic realm of condensed soul. Fighting at a higher level? Humph. It's just shit." The surrounding water vapor creaked under Yu Qingfeng's burning fist, and the Zihua burning heaven fist was nearly a foot in the body of the elegant minister. "Die!" Yu Qingfeng roared. Just as Yu Qingfeng was determined to get a blow, a soft whistle sounded in his ears, and in the next instant he saw a light that was extremely bright. So fast. How is this possible? This is impossible. With a face of incomparable horror, Yu Qingfeng noticed the indifferent but sharp eyes of the sword-holding youth on the opposite side, and immediately felt a cold in his chest, but after all, he is a powerful person in the realm of washing. Surging, the flying block retreated. Wow! The current seemed to be disturbed by a neat and sharp force. Yu Qingfeng stabilized his body, his face was pale, and then changed into a strong humiliation. He was scared back by a cultivator who was not a perfect bodybuilder, which made the pretentious Yu Qingfeng unacceptable. The fiery vitality was invigorated, and just as Yu Qingfeng was so angry and ashamed that he was ready to take another shot, the style minister spoke. You can't even take my sword, you don't even have the qualifications to fight me. Tear. The martial arts shirt on his chest was torn open, and Yu Qingfeng's chest was red, and a wound about 2 inches long appeared on his chest. Obviously, this was caused by the handsome minister, and if it were not for the mercy of his subordinates, this sword would not only hurt the flesh. Boom, boom. Just when Yu Qingfeng couldn't believe it, a huge sound suddenly came from the waterfall not far away. The water was overflowing, and a strong wave suddenly appeared. At the same time, a figure filled with pale golden vitality jumped out of the waterfall and fell into the water downstream of the waterfall. For a time, the huge falling force hit the water splash. The pale golden vitality slowly disappeared, revealing the appearance of this person, with long black hair flying, bright eyes, handsome face, and a huge black long box on his back. It is the result of the refining human-level explosive pill. Yi Wuk. Obviously he didn't expect 2 people to appear in front of him, but Yi Wuk was not afraid in his heart. Standing still, he scanned his eyes and saw Yu Qingfeng, who had a dark complexion on his chest, and he saw the floating and sinking behind him. His pale silver Poyu immediately shrank his pupils. Poyu, is this person a strong person who washes out the heroic realm? However, at this time, Yi Wuk didn't have the slightest fear in his heart, and instead he was replaced by a desire to fight. Suppressing the desire in his heart, he glanced at another young man holding a sword, only to find that the young man holding the sword was also looking at him. The eyes of the two met, and a strange light flashed in the eyes of the style minister. It seemed that something interesting had been discovered. This guy with a sword is not easy. Yi Wuk also felt the power of the handsome minister, felt the rush of fighting spirit in his body, and the joy of just breaking through slowly calmed down after seeing the 2 in front of him. Yu Qingfeng stroked his chest with his right hand, and didn't even look at Yi Wuk. He just stared at the handsome minister with his eyes. What a kendo wizard. Fighting at a higher level. Fighting at a higher level. I have learned today, the handsome minister, you don't have to be proud. The 100 Cities War is about to begin, and I will calculate today's account together with you at that time. Swish. As if remembering something, Yu Qingfeng was about to leave when he turned his yuanli, and it happened that the direction he was leaving was the direction that Yi Wuk stood in. Where is the coming out? Looking for death. Wounded by a sword from a handsome minister, Yu Qingfeng's heart was full of anger. He saw the sudden appearance of Yi Wuk standing in front of him, his eyes were murderous, his anger surged, his right fist surrounded by fiery red energy and turned into a steamer. He wants to use Yi Wuk to vent his anger. Boom. Be careful. Seeing Yu Qingfeng's sudden move, the style minister immediately reminded. Good job. Let me see how powerful Yingpangjing is. Boom. The holy way of fighting spirit is boiling up. Yi Wuk's eyes are like heavenly swords, his left fist surrounds the pale golden fighting spirit, faintly forming a tiger's head, and it slams into Yu Qingfeng's fist. In Yu Qingfeng's perception, Yi Wuk who suddenly appeared was just a bodybuilding cultivator. Seeing him, he dared to fight back and couldn't help but sneer. But in the next instant, Yu Qingfeng's sneer expression suddenly solidified, and instantly turned into a panic deep into his bones. The water splashed everywhere, and Yu Qingfeng felt an overbearing power coming from the opponent's fist. This power was so terrifying that it shook his energy and blood, and was immediately injured. Puff. Unable to stop the blood spurting out, Yu Qingfeng's expression was extremely frightened, his body turned awkwardly in the air, changed direction, and rushed to the other direction at the fastest speed, but his heart was frightened and bitter. How is it possible? How is it possible? One punch hurts me. This is just a bodybuilding monk. Damn. Damn. Before he could think about it, Yu Qing was terrified and disappeared into the vast forest in embarrassment. I wanted to vent my anger, but I didn't expect to kick the iron plate. Feeling the power of his punch, Yi Wuk's heart was stirred. Good, good. Human-level explosive pill, it really didn't disappoint me. Seeing this scene from the beginning to the end, the gaze of the style minister looking at Yi Wook was no longer the previous indifferent, but became extremely sharp, as if he really came to life at this moment. You are very powerful, my name is Feng Kaichen, I am waiting for you in the 100 Cities War. Leaving a word that made Yi Wook inexplicable, the sword-wielding young man also left. Charming ministers. Battle of 100 Cities. Interesting. I don't know how much time it took to refining the human-level explosive pill, it seems I must go back as soon as possible. Although Yi Wook's words and this experience made Yi Wook a little surprised and strange, the harvest made him very satisfied. The movement of the holy way of battle gas evaporated the water vapor on the martial arts. Yi Wook was independent, his eyes were like electricity, and he looked in the direction of Murong's house, muttering to himself, Blood Dragon Jade, this is left to me by Fu Bo, yes, no one can take it away from me. Murongshan, I am here, Yi Wook. Search coolsmith.com on WeChat, follow the name of the post work, and read the full text for free. The fastest update. You can also get 20 excavators. KJ_DS_icon. Return of the War God Chapter 8, get it back by yourself. Murong's house, martial arts field. At this moment it was full of clansmen belonging to the Murong family, from the patriarch Murong Chongqing and a big elder to every young Murong child, all gathered in the martial arts field. Surprise flashed across the faces of the young Murong children, and there was a lot of discussion in twos and threes. It seemed that something that made them excited, but as they talked, Dao Dao's eyes always swept toward the man sitting alone on the martial arts stage. A figure was full of envy and excitement. Murong Binglan, who was surrounded in the center like the stars, also projected her beautiful eyes tightly on the figure, but her blushing lips were bitten by it. Yi Wook, dare to humiliate me. You trash, wait, today is the day when Brother Tian will trample you under your feet. The figure was sitting alone, a round of pale silver moon floating and sinking behind him, a powerful breath rushing, his handsome face closed, his eyes slightly, but the corners of his mouth slightly cocked. It was Murong Tian. At this moment, Murongshan was equally excited and eager. I didn't expect it. I thought I would have to wait another year, but the 100 Cities War, which lasted for nearly 100 years in 3 years, came ahead of schedule. I am the first genius of the Murong family in the main city of Longguang. I, Murongshan, must be among the places in the 100 Cities War that Longguang played. As far as I know, all those who are eligible to participate in the 100 Cities War will be fully trained by the main city's lord, which will make the strength even further before the battle, and if they can get a certain amount of achievements, you will get unexpected rewards. Thinking of this, even the scheming Murongshan couldn't help but tremble slightly, his closed eyes suddenly opened, and there was a sense of surprise in it, but it seemed to think of something. Murongshan's eyes moved and became cloudy. Vicious. It has been a month since Yi Wook's trash fight with me to this day. No matter whether he appears or not, I will get the Blood Dragon Jade. When I obtain the good fortune in the Blood Dragon Jade, I will be cultivated by the city lord of Longguang. My realm and combat power will surely skyrocket again. What is the little Murong family worth? This 100 city battle is the moment when my Murongshan became famous throughout the East. Unlike Murong Tian, who was in agitated mood, Murong Chongqing and several elders, who were sitting behind the performance stage, were sitting in distress, but their expressions were different. Murong Baisher's old face was dry, a pair of hazy eyes circled on his grandson Murongshan on the martial arts field, and he couldn't see what he was thinking. And Murong Chongqing, the patriarch of the Murong family, even though his face looks expressionless, but his heart is equally uneasy. How could the first event in the East, the triennial 100 Cities War, be held in advance? 3 days ago, I received a letter from City Lord Longguang that he would visit my Murong's house 3 days later. It seems that Murongshan is indispensable for this time. As the patriarch of the Murong family, Murong Chongqing's children were eligible to participate in the 100 Cities War. He was naturally happy, but Murong Chongqing, who thought of another matter, was greatly diminished by the joy in his heart. A month ago, Yi Wook used the Blood Dragon Jade as a bet to make an appointment with Murong Tian, and it happened that today was the day of the appointment. Wu Qian, what do you think in your heart? With a sigh in his heart, even though Murong Changqing loved Yi Wuk very much, the child adopted by the Murong family since childhood, as the head of the Murong family, there were several pairs of eyes staring behind him, and there were some things that could not be determined by his preferences. Murong Changqing even remembered what the person told him and the Murong elders when he left 10 years ago. This jade is called the Blood Dragon Jade. It will give the monk who has just broken through the mortal washing realm an unexpected good fortune. I leave it to Wuxiao. Please give it to him when Patriarch Murong is 18 years old or when he breaks through the mortal washing. After saying this, the man floated away. If you give it to me privately, why is it in front of everyone? Well, maybe in your eyes, then the dazzling young man will naturally get this jade, but often the day fails. Who would think of it? The child without a lack. A few sighs made Murong Evergreen feel more pity for Yi Wuk, but he couldn't keep the Blood Dragon Jade for Yi Wuk. Obviously, Murong Changqing is also not optimistic about Yi Wuk's engagement with Murong Tian. In the sky a few miles east of Murong's house, two people are sprinting through the sky at this moment. One of them is a majestic middle-aged man with his hands behind his back, his eyes were calm, and there was a faint aperture of Yuanli within 3 feet of his body. Within the scope of this aperture, a girl with a cold temperament and stunning face followed closely behind. Their destination is exactly where Murong's family is. And just in the air hundreds of miles away from the two men, a huge bird and beast stretched its wings and walked forward. On the back of the bird and beast sat two young figures. Sitting in the front is a 15 or 16-year-old boy. This boy is dressed in a cyan robe with a cyan auspicious cloud embroidered on the edge of the robe. His eyes are slightly closed, and his body is surrounded by cyan vigorous vitality. Living in the heaven and earth, a vast breath rises into the sky. OM. With a light tremor, the green-robed youth suddenly stood up from the back of the bird and beast, the lingering cyan vitality slowly dissipated, an incomparable face was revealed, his eyes were as numerous as stars, and the light inside was twinkling, and his slender body was tall and strong. At this moment, the other person who was sitting behind the Qingpao boy opened his eyes. This is a peculiar woman, although she looks like 15 or 6 years old, but she exudes a lightness, as if she is from the 9 heavens, her eyes are extremely indifferent, and only when she sweeps the Qingpao boy did she flash a wave. OM. Under the gaze of the light-spirited woman, the aura of the Qingpao boy suddenly climbed to the extreme, and then the whole body trembled, and a golden crescent moon appeared behind the Qingpao boy. Just as the golden crescent moon appeared behind the Qingpao boy, an old figure suddenly appeared on the tail of the bird and beast without a third person. The old man was dressed in a pale yellow martial arts robe. He was of ordinary build and appearance, just a pair of seemingly uncommon. There seemed to be a ghostly disillusionment in the non-fluctuation eyes. The old man looked at the Qingpao boy, and there was an undisguised admiration and amazement within him. 7th Realm of Shifan, Master Lai is only 15 years old this year, and he has already stepped into the 7th Realm of Shifan, and he has already stepped into the 7th Realm of Shifan. He is indeed one of the most powerful disciples of this generation in the shrine. Well, when Master Lai reaches that realm, he will be more sure. OM. The wings of the birds and beasts raised, and the speed was extremely fast. The Qingpao boy stood with his hands in his hands and cast his gaze on the vast ground below. Then he narrowed his eyes, and an aura that made the Linger woman feel strange behind him slowly flowed. 10 years, I never thought I would come to Dongtu again. The battle that year made me unforgettable, but I didn't expect you to be abandoned. It really disappointed me. The time passed bit by bit, but everyone in Murong's family was not impatient and still waiting quietly. At this moment, Murong Changqing's expression suddenly changed, his eyes cast to the horizon, and then he stood up. Several elders beside him also noticed almost at the same time, and stood up as well. A peaceful middle-aged man's laughter suddenly resounded in the ears of every Murong child present. Patriarch Murong, don't come here unharmed, the city owner took the liberty to visit, and please take care of Patriarch Murong, ha 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 ha. As soon as the voice fell, a middle-aged man appeared on the martial arts arena out of thin air, nodding towards Murong Changqing's direction. Ha ha ha. The words of City Master Qi really broke my Murong's house. City Master Qi's visit to my Murong's house is really brilliant. Murong Changqing held his hands in a bow, and the middle-aged man in front of him was Qi Shilong, the lord of Longguang City. While Qi Shilong and Murong Changqing were greeting each other, the eyes of the entire Murong family's younger generation were focused on the cool-tempered and beautiful girl who appeared with Qi Shilong. My God! Who is this woman? She is so beautiful. You unseen guys, she doesn't even know that this is the eldest Miss Lin Yingluo of the Lin family, one of the three major families in the main city of Longguang. Lin Yingluo? Is that Lin Yingluo who defeated the three of the same rank and won in the end? Strong strength, looks even better than Miss Binglan. What a goddess! Murong Binglan, who was originally surrounded by many Murong children like stars, heard these comments, and then looked at Lin Yingluo, who had a cold temperament, with her red lips curled, and a little tasteful. What's so great? Humph. Lin Yingluo didn't seem to hear a word about Murong's disciple. Her cold eyes scanned the surroundings, and she finally fixed herself on Murong Tian, who had stood up from the performance stage. Seeing Lin Yingluo's gaze swept, Murong Tian's heart was lifted, and a perfect smile was revealed. Behind him, the pale silver moon was beating, and he looked like Lin Yingluo. The expressionless Lin Yingluo only glanced at Murong Tian and then withdrew her gaze, which made Murong Tian a little embarrassed for a while. After some greetings, Qi Shilong went straight to the subject. Patriarch Murong, this time my first event in the East Turkestan, the 100 Cities War, has started ahead of schedule. This city lord has been ordered by the first main city. I, Longguang, will have 3 places this time. This city lord has no children and is alone. It just so happens. My Longguang has 3 big families, and these 3 places are naturally selected by your 3 big families. Immediately, Qi Shilong looked at Lin Yingluo and smiled. This little girl from the Lin family is one, where is Murongshan from your Murong family? Murong Changqing heard Qi Shilong's question and smiled back. Tianer has been waiting here for the city lord to arrive. Hearing Qi Shilong mentioning his name, Murong Tian immediately clasped his fists to give a salute, and replied in a deep voice, if you return to the city lord, Murong Tian is here. Oh. You are Murongshan, at a young age, you have condensed soul you and stepped into the first heroic realm of the 7 great realms of Shifan. You are really talented. Qi Shilong praised Murong Tian. City Lord Xia praised Murong Tian for having the opportunity to participate in the Great War of 100 Cities this time. The city owner gave me this opportunity. Murong Tian is extremely grateful. Standing behind Murong Changqing, Murong Baishir smiled like a chrysanthemum at the moment. With the cultivation of City Lord Longguang, Murong Tian's strength will go further, and perhaps another breakthrough is not impossible. You know, even among all the city masters of the 100 major cities in the east, Longguang City Master Qi Shilong is ranked in the top 10. It is said that Qi Shilong has broken through the 7 realms of Shifan and reached another level. However, the patriarchs of the 3 major families in the main city of Longguang are still in the heavenly Chong realm of the 7th realm of Shifan. Well, the little Nizi of the Lin family, and you, are the last kid from the Sima family. Murongshan, you and the little Nizi of the Lin family will come to Sima's house with me again, and wait for the 3 of you to gather. This city lord I will try my best to cultivate you for a month, and 1 month later, it will be the day when the 100 Cities War begins. These words fell in Murongshan's ears, making him ecstatic, but Murongshan suppressed the joy in his heart, but took a deep breath and said, everything is only based on the instructions of the city lord, but Murongshan still there is something to ask for. Murongshan's words made the entire Murong family a little strange for a while. At such a pass, does Murongshan have any more requirements? Hearing Murong Tian's words, Murong Baishir's eyes flashed with secrets, but Murong Changqing had a faint feeling in his heart. Oh. The 3 of you will fight for my Longguang and win honor for my Longguang. Naturally, this city lord will try his best to satisfy you. What are your requirements? Qi Shilong did not refuse Murong Tian's request, but agreed with a smile. Qi Shilong's reaction caused the last stone in Murong Tian's heart to fall, and the language that had been organized in his heart was now fully revealed. In return to the city lord, what Murong Tian asked for was to ask the city lord to speak for me to get back from the lord what belonged to me. This item is unique to my Murong family and cooperates with my Murong's family biography, Hao Tianjin. It can greatly increase my combat power in a short period of time. It's just that this thing was given to another person 10 years ago because the owner owed someone a favor. Speaking of this, Murongshan sneered in his heart, Yi Wuk, your blood dragon jade. From now on, the blood dragon jade is my Murongshan thing. Hearing Murong Tian's words, Murong Changqing's face immediately sank. Obviously, he did not expect that Murong Tian would say this at this time. Moreover, the description of the blood dragon jade as belonging to the Murong family completely reverses the right and wrong. Just when Murong Changqing was about to deny it, Murong Baishir took the lead in speaking, City Lord Qi, what Tianer said is true. The old man knows that the owner of the family has a kind heart, because he owed someone a love in the past, and he couldn't wipe it off. So he promised this thing to a boy who has long been abolished. But now the 100 Cities War is about to begin. Every time Tianer is strong, his performance in the 100 Cities War will be even better. This thing also asks City Lord Qi to speak. Find it back for Tianer. Evergreen, you are the patriarch of Murong's family. Murong Tian smiled, and he was holding the winning ticket. All Murong Baishir's words fell in Qi Shilong's ears. Murong Baishir's words made Murong Changqing's heart irritated, but he had to admit that the two words of his grandparents at this time made the whole thing completely deviated from the direction that Murong Tian expected. Moreover, as the patriarch of the Murong family, Murong Baishir's last sentence was clearly addressed to him, which made Murong Changqing fall into silence for a while. Is it to take care of a waste, or to fulfill Murong's hope? After Qi Shilong heard the words of the two, he naturally didn't know the cause of this, but if he could be the lord of a city, how could Qi Shilong be a generation? He smiled and said to Murong Changqing, Patriarch Murong, this was originally a family affair for your Murong family. This city owner shouldn't have interrupted, but at the moment it is involved in a 100-city war, so the city owner has to say this. The city lord only asks Patriarch Murong two questions. First, in whose hands this object will play a greater role? Second, can the person you promise to use this object now? Two questions were raised, Qi Shilong waited to answer. The entire Murong family fell into silence at this moment, as if waiting for Murong Changqing's answer. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Murong Changqing made a decision and sighed, as the city lord said, there are some old things involved in this, and it is indeed best to give to Tianer now. However, this thing, it's not. Murong Changqing hadn't finished speaking yet, suddenly a clear long roar came from a distance. Uncle Changqing, take back all your own things by yourself. Murongshan, the January appointment, today Yi is here, if you want a face, come to fight. With pale golden Yuanli lingering around him, Yi Wuk finally arrived at this moment, the young man carrying a long black box on his back, like a sharp sword out of its sheath, and his vigor is infinite. Wu Wei. It's Wu Wei. He really appeared. Yes, I thought he was afraid to come. What is on his back? It doesn't matter what he does, what happens when he comes, it's not asking for trouble. Seeing Yi Wuk's sudden appearance, Murong Tian's face darkened, and his eyes flashed with chill. Yi Wuk, I didn't think you really dared to come, this rubbish. I originally wanted to get the blood dragon jade effortlessly, since you are looking for death, then no wonder I am. City Lord, this person is robbing the waste that originally belonged to me. He actually appeared today. I will fight him in a fair fight. The winner will get the blood dragon jade. Please also the city lord to be a witness. OM. The pale silver soul moon throbbed, Murong Tian drummed his whole body cultivation base, and the tyrannical fluctuations of the heroic realm swept one side. Boom. The rushing Yi Wuk stepped on the ground, his body leaped high, and swept across the martial arts field, 10 feet away from Murong Tian. The scene in front of me happened extremely quickly, which was beyond everyone's expectations. Murong Baishir's old face sank, and Murong Changqing sighed secretly, no matter, this is my own choice, just let him go. If he loses, I will keep him safe and secure. Qi Shilong was slightly surprised at this moment. He looked at the boy who appeared suddenly, and his heart moved. Yi Wuk, is that the kid who made a great storm 10 years ago? He is said to have been abandoned, and now it seems that it is not like the spread. Yi Wook, the blood dragon jade will be my Murongtian thing from now on, and you, rest assured to be your waist. Vicious and indifferent words rang out from Murong Tian's mouth, and the white Yuanli filled his whole body. He stared at Yi Wook as if he was looking at another ant. Murong Binglan under the stage of performing martial arts also clenched her delicate hands into a fist at this moment, her clenched red lips were white, her delicate face flashed with evil spirits, and she stared at Yi Wook steadily. Brother Tian, take care of me. There is nothing else in his eyes, his heart is hot, Yi Wook looks solemn, golden red blood trickles, and the holy way's fighting spirit is surging. Murongtian, I am here, Yi Wook. Blood dragon jade, what belongs to me, I take it back by myself. Return of the War God Chapter 9, Tiangang Roaming Dragon. OM. The vigorous vitality vented from Murong Tian's body, and an astonishing momentum instantly transpired. The ruthlessness of his eyes flashed away, and Murong Tian had decided that he would step on the opposite waist in the shortest possible time in the most ruthless manner. Therefore, when you make a move, you are ruthless. Earth Devil Tiger Punch. Roar. The tiger roar was born, Murong Tian's face was severe, and with this tiger roar, his body rose up and down with a tragic aura, and the image of the tiger behind him swallowed it, like a gorgeous tiger hidden in the mountains. Suddenly threw out and came out to eat people. OM. The powerful wave of Yuanli swept across the entire performance stage, and Murong Tian's shot immediately showed its tyranny. Trash. Lie down for me. The gorgeous tiger image that Murong Tian turned into entrained the terrifying force that tore everything and rushed to Yi Wook. It seemed that in the next moment, Yi Wook was about to be torn apart by this force. So strong. This Murong Tian is so strong. Is this the power that condensed Poyu has when stepping into the Chiffon heroic realm? It's just this first move. How can the five heavens refining tendon Shaoshan be able to block it with the use of waist-intact bodybuilding? Murong's children exclaimed one after another, and at this moment they were all shocked by Murongtian's strength. Murong Changqing's face was expressionless, but his heart tightened secretly. He naturally knew how strong Murong Tian was. Now this first move was already eye-catching. In his cognition, Yi Wook would undoubtedly lose this move. Different from Murong Changqing's expressionless face, Murong Baishir sneered in his heart at this moment. Picking up Yi Wook's waist is as simple as crushing an ant to his precious grandson. Roar. Feeling the image of the colorful tiger made by Murong Tian, Yi Wook is still long and independent at this moment, his complexion is indifferent, but his eyes are amazing. Sure enough, Murong Tian is stronger than the monk in the Chiffon heroic realm who forced me to retreat in the forest of ancient ancients. But, how is this? Murongtian, today I will defeat you with my fists. Wow. With eyes like a knife, Yi Wook's black hair fluttered, and he strode forward, his body was instantly dazzled with pale golden vitality, the holy way of battle vigorously burst out, gold and red blood surging endlessly, providing him with endless supply mighty combat power. Facing this punch from Murong Tian, what Yi Wook chose was a strong counterattack. Don't avoid it. He wants to see how he compares to Murong Tian at the moment, how exactly. In other words, he wants to see how much stronger he is after successfully refining the human-level explosive pill. Earth Evil Tiger Punch. Roar. Another sky-shaking tiger roared through the entire martial arts field. In the eyes of everyone, Yi Wook also punched the fist of the evil tiger, and merged with the image of the tiger behind him into one, turning into a golden tiger, which rushed in an instant. The gorgeous tiger hit one place. Roar. Boom. One white and one gold, two powerful energies struck each other, causing shocking fluctuations, and instantly flooded the entire performance stage. However, at this moment, Murong Changqing and Murong Baishir's face changed drastically. An interesting light flashed in the eyes of Qi Shilong, who had been quiet and independent. Lin Yingluo, standing behind Qi Shilong, also moved her cold eyes. In the area where Murong's children were, Murong Hai clenched his fists and stared at the martial arts platform. His heart was like a huge wave, his eyes were bloodshot. There was a hint of pleasure across her charming pretty face, and only a cruel voice remained in Murong Binglan's heart, Yi Wook. It's time for you to pay for it. Just when everyone's eyes were on the martial arts stage, the two elements, one platinum and one gold, finally dissipated, the tyrannical fluctuations slowly stagnated, and the two figures suddenly retreated each. Boom boom boom. One figure took 4 steps back to stop her figure, and his eyes flashed with shock and inconceivability. It was Murong Tian. And the other figure retreated in the same posture, also, 4 steps, and stabilized his figure. It was Yi Wuck. Different from the shocked Murongtian, Yi Wuck's heart was extremely hot at this moment, and his bright eyes brightened to the extreme. After just this blow, he found that he and Murongtian were equally divided. Hiss. The sound of inhalation sounded one after another. Am I dazzled? Fei Wuck actually blocked Murong Tian's punch. And it doesn't seem to be hurt. Impossible. Murongtian is a cultivator in the realm of washing. The Murong disciples immediately exploded the pot, and what happened before them made them unbelievable. The numbness from his arms reminded Murong Tian that all this just now was true, and that the waste that Murong's family had spent 10 years on the other side received his blow from Murong Tian. It's impossible. I just made a punch that is comparable to a full-strength blow in the body. How could this waste be picked up? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Looking at Yi Wuck standing on the opposite side and scathed, Murong Tian's anger was greater than shock. He couldn't believe that Yi Wuck could take his punch. His handsome face was slightly twisted at this time, and the incomparable white vitality poured out. Boom. His figure became blurred. Murong Tian shot again. He couldn't accept everything just now, so this time, he was going to completely defeat Yi Wuck. Fine. Come on, Murong Tian. Yi Wuck, who received Murong Tian's punch, was surging. He knew that the person refining the human-level explosive pill had become much stronger, but he did not expect that he had reached such a situation. The forging is complete. Refining is great. This is the realm Yi Wuck is in now. In 1 month, from the small forging of the 5 heavens of the forging body to the perfecting of the forging body. Before he knew it, Yi Wuck had already begun to become stronger, and his path to the strong had finally reopened after 10 years of annihilation. This time, no one can stop. Boom, boom. The two figures intertwined on the stage of performing martial arts, and the surging vigor overflowed, and the fluctuation of the forging body was almost crowned by all Murong children. Therefore, at this moment, almost all of Murong's children were holding their breaths and staring at the two figures on the martial arts stage. It's just that the gazes they glanced over Yi Wuck were no longer disdain, contempt, but shock, envy, and horror were replaced. Murong Hai clenched his fists, the scar on his left face trembling violently, his eyes flashed with unwillingness and horror, and finally his fists were weakly loosened, his eyes were extremely dim. He knew that from now on he would no longer be qualified to stand on the martial arts stage. Opposite the two. Because these two people can beat him with a single punch. Call, call, call. Her full chest fluctuated violently. Murong Binglan's beautiful eyes were full of horror, and she couldn't calm down her heart for a long time. She couldn't understand how Yi Wuck could and how could he fight his Tian Gu to such a situation. Okay. Okay. Wu Tsai, this stinky kid has concealed so deeply. I don't even know. Bodybuilding Dzogchen. 15-year-old bodybuilding Dzogchen. Stinky, ha 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 ha. From the moment he saw Yi Wuck and Murong Tian's first blow, Murong Changqing instantly noticed Yi Wuck's cultivation level at this time, which made him extremely surprised. He immediately thought that this was Yi Wuck's concealment, although he didn't know reason, but it is not important anymore. The comforted Murong Changqing looked at Yi Wuck more and more pity. Murong Baisher's old faces huddled together, staring at Yi Wuck with hazy gazes. A hint of chill flashed, and the original battle that was tenable and stable would have changed. A waste that has been spent for 10 years suddenly exploded. 15-year-old forging body is complete, 15-year-old forging body is complete. Murong Baisher thought silently in his heart. At this moment, a trace of killing intent flashed in his heart. Qi Shilong stood with his hands in his hands, with extraordinary bearing. His eyes swept across the fierce fighting on the martial arts stage with interest, but more eyes were on Yi Wuck. What a funny little guy. Lin Yingluo's icy eyes only looked at Yi Wuke. As the number one genius of the Lin family in the main city of Longguang, Lin Yingluo's vision and insight were naturally extraordinary. At this moment, the young man named Yi Wuke attracted her attention. The 15-year-old bodybuilder Lin Yingluo didn't care. What she cared about was Yi Wuke's combat power at this time. Although Murong Tian also challenged with the great perfection of body forging, he was already a cultivator of the ordinary realm after all, and Yi Wuke was able to fight with it without losing the wind. This was enough to prove Yi Wuke's strength. Moreover, Lin Yingluo faintly noticed that this young man didn't seem to exert his full strength yet, he seemed to be still hiding. Boom! Two fists bombarded, bursting out a powerful force, the two figures were separated at once, and the two elements were surging. Murong Tian's shots are unforgiving, with tricky angles, and even overwhelming people with the background of washing the world, and gaining power is not forgiving. Yi Wuke opened up and closed, seeming to have amazing combat intuition, not rushing or impatient, calmly dealing with both offense and defense. Tricky. The more frightened Murangshan he fought, these two words appeared in his heart. Through this series of battles, even though he was unwilling in his heart, he had to admit that the young man he called trash had strong vitality in his body, fighting. The sharpness of consciousness made Murong Tian a faint chill. Murong Tian found that Yi Wuqian couldn't help Yi Wuqian with his perfect cultivation base. Instead, if he continued to fight like this, he would even be defeated by him. This thought surprised him, but he had to admit it. Looking at Qi Shilong, who stood holding his hand, Murong Tian's eyes sharpened in order to avoid Yi Chang's dreams, and he decided to do his best. Boom rumble. Yi Wuke suddenly felt an extremely powerful wave erupting from Murong Tian, the white vitality surged upwards, and Murong Tian's entire popularity changed. If the previous Murangshan made Yi Wuke feel only powerful, then Murangshan at this moment is unfathomable. OM. With a shock all over, Murong Tian's eyes moved, and a bright light suddenly appeared behind him, and a pale silver light rose up. Poyu. This unique symbol of the Xifanjing monk appeared behind Murangshan. Danin Poyu floated up and down, unpredictable, tall with others, but exuded an aura that made Yi Wuke feel unpredictable. 1.5 months behind him, Murong Tian's breath also undergone a qualitative change at this moment, his body's vitality rises and sinks, and his body glows with a dazzling white light. Murong Tian's gaze also became indifferent at this moment, sweeping towards Yi Wuke. Is it finally going to make a full shot? Yi Wuke's face was solemn, and Murong Tian's current state was naturally distinguished by him. Looking at that round of soul moon, Yi Wuke felt the power of the vanishing realm, but his heart was still fearless and fearless. With eyes flashing like electricity, Yi Wuke murmured to himself, "Then, I have to do my best." No one knows that this 15-year-old boy has not exerted his full strength in the previous battle. Yi Wuke, I have to admit that what you have hidden is indeed deep enough. You are obviously a strong cultivation base, but you are willing to be called a waste of 10 years, but I will let you know the gap between the washout realm and the bodybuilding realm. I will let you know what despair is. Blood Dragon Jade will still only belong to me, Murangshan. In different words echoed throughout the martial arts field, Murong Tian opened his hand slightly, and the pale silver moon shook behind him, and a wave that was several times stronger than before was born. At the same time, Murong Tian's hands fluctuated everywhere, and a vague phantom slowly appeared. In the eyes of all Murong's children, the faint phantom looked like a flood dragon. The top grade is unique. Tiangang roams the dragon. Return of the War God Chapter 10, Fierce Battle. Oh! A more overbearing voice than tiger roar sounded beside Murong Tian. Yi Wuke narrowed his eyes, and he clearly distinguished that it was a falling dragon. Tiangang roams the dragon. The top-grade peerless learning is the peerless learning of the Murong family and the middle-class peerless learning Haotian Jin. It is impossible for non-patriarchs and the first day to learn. Obviously, Murong Tian was taught by this unparalleled learning. OM. As Yi Wuke could see, two thin shadows of dragons about 1 foot long slowly surrounded Murangshan's hands. Murangshan's expression was solemn. Obviously, this set of top-ranking masterpieces is even for him who is already in the vanity state. is not something you can do at your fingertips. As the white vitality continues to surge, a domineering vigor overflows. Roar. The holy way was surging in battle spirit, golden red blood surging, and the golden tiger image slowly formed behind Yi Wuk. Yi Wuk understood that Murongtian at this moment had already taken full force and had no reservations. Yi Wuk had heard of the dragon swordsman in Tiangang, as the peculiar knowledge of the town clan of the Murong family. Its power is naturally powerful. The top-grade peerless school is a higher grade than the middle-grade peerless school, and its power is naturally different. It is said that when Murong Changqing was still a teenager, as the first genius of Murong's family, he went out to practice, and once used this Tiangang to wander through the dragon. He tore two enemies of the same rank who were alone in his arms. For the past 10 years, Yi Wuk has been dedicated to condensing the origin of the holy law of fighting and fighting, so he only learned the fascination of fighting, and he has only learned the evil fist, and now Murongtian uses the cultivation base of the vanity heroic realm to use the dragon to swim the dragon. This let Yi Wuk have to pay attention. Roar. The image of the golden tiger is endless, and Yi Wuk urges all the sacred fighting energy in his body to condense the ultimate move of the tiger's punch with all his strength to break the world. The louder and louder Jiaolong Yin spread throughout the martial arts field. Murong Tian's fierce and indifferent eyes suddenly moved, and then his open hands flashed blue. Oh! After a dragon chant, Murong Tian's hands were surrounded by blue aura and turned into two dragon claws. Yi Wuk. This time, I see how you block it. Boom! With force under his feet, Murong Tian brought up a gust of wind. His claws were torn apart, a sharp breath instantly echoed around him, and the cyan dragon claws rushed straight towards Yi Wuk. Yi Wuk's face was aching because of the sharp aura coming over his face. Despite the dignity in his heart, Yi Wuk still raised his fist slightly, and punched out the most powerful fist. Boom, boom. The pale golden fists and the cyan dragon claws blatantly intersected, and Murong Tian, who shot at full strength, was at least several times stronger than before, and the cyan dragon claws made by the dragon wandering dragon brought the deadly sharpness and continued to tear to Yi Wuk. Tiangang Dragon Tournament really deserves to be a top-grade masterpiece. Coupled with Murongtian's full shot, it is indeed powerful. The image of the golden tiger behind him trembles constantly, and the sacred path within his body is constantly infused by Yi Wuk's fighting spirit. The pale golden pair of fists hardly resists the attack of the blue dragon claw. Fail! Yi Wuk. Under my Murongtian's hands, you won't have any chance. The influential Murong Tian felt his own strength and Yi Wu's embarrassed posture of retreating, and sneered in his heart. I just played with you just now, do you think you can really fight me? Huh, give me. Oh, boom. The cyan dragon claws suddenly turned into two afterimages, breaking through Yi Wuqian's fists, and grabbing straight to his chest. Catching Murong Tian's sudden move, Yi Wuk's complexion changed slightly, and he turned to avoid him, but Murong Tian moved so fast at this moment that he barely managed to escape a frontal blow. The cyan dragon claws grabbed Yi Wuk's shoulder heavily. Boom! The blue chi disappeared in a flash, and Yi Wuk suddenly retreated 3 steps under this claw, and a mouth was caught on his right shoulder. Humph! Seeing that Yi Wuk had evaded this claw that he held 9 times more stable, Murong Tian's expression was overcast, and he gave a cold snort. Originally, this claw could solve Yi Wuk. I just said, as long as Murong Tian shows true skills, how could Yi Wuk be Murong Tian's opponent? Strong. It's so strong. Tiangang Roaming Dragon. Is this the strongest fighting skill of our Murong family? I must learn it. Dream you. But Yi Wuk will definitely lose. Murong's children, who closely followed the battle situation, naturally saw that Yi Wuk was already in defeat at this time, and it was only sooner or later that Murong Tian wanted to solve him. Oh, no shortage, just do your best. Murong Changqing sighed. Yi Wuk suddenly exploded, making Murong Changqing very happy, but it was still too difficult to defeat Murong Tian, who was in the Shifan heroic realm. My God! That's it. Defeat this trash. Defeat him. Murong Binglan was so excited to see Yi Wuk being forced to retreat by Murong Tian, she seemed to have seen Yi Wuk's embarrassed appearance being stepped on by Murong Tian. Lin Yingluo had a moment of hesitation in her eyes, and she began to doubt whether her inference about Yi Wuk was correct. Qi Shilong still had that calm and breezy appearance, not knowing what he thought. The bursts of pain from his shoulder stimulate Yi Wuk's nerves, but his expression has not changed at all, his eyes are still amazingly bright. It seems that I can force the cultivator of the vanishing heroic realm in the ancient forest with a punch. It must be that the sword-wielding young man has already injured him first, and even though the cultivator shot at me, he did not use it. With all his strength, and more importantly, Murong Tian is stronger than that monk, so there must be strong and weak points in Shifan Ingpu. With the blessing of Poyu, the combat power of the Shifan Ingpao realm is fully deployed, and with the top-grade peerless Tiangang Dragon Wanderer, Murongshan is several times stronger than before. With the combat power I have shown so far, it is indeed not his opponent. Yi Wuk calmly analyzed the situation in front of him. Although his defeat was gradually revealed, he did not have the slightest worry. In this way, I should also throw my whole cards. The brilliance flashed in his eyes, and Yi Wuk thought in his heart. OM. The spirit of the Holy Way was rushing desperately, and waves of tyrannical fluctuations swept away. Sora once said, condensed into the origin of the Holy Law, the elemental power I cultivated is no longer ordinary elemental energy, but Holy Way of War energy. Its lethality is 10 times that of ordinary elemental energy, and condensed is also ordinary elemental energy. 10 times as much as that. However, due to the limitation of cultivation level, I can't play it out. However, after subduing the human-level explosive pill, my cultivation level has skyrocketed, and in the month of refining the human-level explosive pill, I have initially understood the origin of the holy law of fighting. How to use it. Right now is an opportunity to give it a try. The golden red blood and the holy way of fighting energy blended together, Yi Wuk no longer retained this moment, and fully operated his body cultivation. Boom. The faint golden holy way of fighting spirit lingered, almost completely submerging Yi Wuk. The sight in front of him made Murongshan slightly surprised, but then he sneered, pretending to be a ghost. I wasted enough time, it's over. Oh. The dragon claws transformed by the blue chi accompanied the dragon Yin, and Murong Tian made another move. Tiangang roaming dragon hand. Azure dragon claw. Gudong's whole body cultivation base, 2 cyan dragon claws scratched the surrounding area, and rushed into Yi Wuk, who was submerged by the pale golden vitality. It's over, Yi Wuk, the blood dragon jade finally got it, huh? Roar. At the moment Murong Tian was holding the winning ticket, he suddenly felt that the blue dragon claws formed by his hands were blocked by a powerful force. Even the next moment he felt the limits of a majestic and mighty battle. It is like seeing a great god of war standing tall on the river of time and space under the starry sky. What is going on? There was a trance in front of him, and Murong Tian, who quickly recovered his senses, gave a sharp look, and the cyan dragon claws stirred with all his strength. Broken. Boom. After a crash, Murong Tian swept back with a hint of suspicion. At this moment, he saw Yi Wuk after the pale golden vitality disappeared. With black hair fluttering, standing long, strong posture, eyes like a knife, and pale golden radiance dazzling all over his body, Yi Wuk at this moment gave Murong Tian an extremely strange feeling. Momentum. From Yi Wuk's body, Murongshan seemed to feel the aura that made him dazed. The origin of the fighting holy law. It really didn't disappoint me. The tyrannical feeling in the body made Yi Wuk happy, he could feel his current strength. Leapfrog challenge. The reason why Sora said that Yi Wuwei had the qualification to leapfrog the challenge was because of the existence of the origin of the fighting holy law. Now, Yi Wuk finally used the holy method of fighting for the first time. Turn the holy way to the extreme, and then rush into the Dantian quickly. It will temporarily wake up the source of the holy law of fighting, and get feedback from the source of the holy law, and then the holy way of fighting chi will once again rush out of the Dantian and return to the body, so I can gain several times the previous strength. I originally refined the human-level explosive pill, my cultivation level should only be increased by 3 levels to achieve the 9 heavens forging marrow refinement, but now I have reached the sky in 1 step, and I have been directly promoted to the forging great perfection. It seems that this is also a fight. The origin of the holy warfare has played a role. The origin of the holy warfare is really a mysterious thing. The thoughts in his heart were tumbling, but it was just a matter of an instant. Now it is not the time to ponder these things. Yi Wuck suppressed the thoughts in his heart and looked at Murongxian. The body of the body has gained several times the strength, although he has not yet condensed Puyu, stepping into the Shifan realm, but has the power comparable to the Shifan Ingpa realm. This time, Yi Wuck was 100% sure to defeat Murongxian. Roar! Yi Wuck punched the tiger's punch once again, and the golden tiger surrounded his body. Ha! The devil's tiger punch seems to be much stronger than before. Yi Wuck clearly felt that the Earth Shahu Benquan seemed to have undergone a certain mutation, and the power became even more powerful. Damn it! Tiangang roaming dragon player. Azure Dragon Claws. For some reason, seeing Yi Wuck's initiative to attack and kill, Murongxian felt a trace of danger from him, which made Murongxian a little bit ashamed and angry. Roar! Oh! Boom, boom! The light golden tiger fist and the cyan dragon claw bombarded fiercely in one place, and the momentum was shocking. Everything that happened on the martial arts stage made everyone's nerves tense again. They didn't understand why Yi Wuck, who had been defeated before, suddenly became alive again, and he also fought more than ever with Murongxian, who was fully capable of fighting. Boom! Impossible! How is this possible? He is only forging his body to perfection. How can he withstand my attack? I am a cultivator in the realm of washing. The cyan dragon claw fell on the pale golden tiger fist, but lost the feeling of compaction that had just been felt. A majestic and mighty aura surrounds Yi Wuwei. The latter's current eruption of cultivation and strength is not weaker than him. Even stronger than him. Tiger breaks the world. Open. With a loud shout, Yi Wuck's black hair danced wildly, and his whole body burst out with a powerful aura, golden, red, and blood like the Yangtze River. 3 steps turned into 1 step, and the Panjin tiger fist shook the surroundings, and in Murongxian's horrified eyes, it also hit Murongxian's shoulder. Boom boom boom. The force of this fist was extremely fierce, and Murongxian immediately felt a terrifying force swept into his body from his shoulders, shaking himself with blood, and he couldn't help but black out. Dare to hurt me? Yi Wuck. You are looking for death. Qinglong tears the sky. Oh. Behind him, Puyu trembled, Murongxian drummed his whole body's cultivation base, and the cyan dragon claws emitted a misty blue light, instantly turning into 3 feet in size, and attacked Yi Wuck. Good job. Cool unspecified currency W Craftsman Z/net, first release. With dazzling eyes, Yi Wuck threw a punch again. Facing Murongxian's attack of the Tiangang Dragon Wanderer who was capable of breaking a hill, Yi Wuck's fist outrageously also broke out the strongest offensive. Boom and OM, 2 powerful forces vented out. If it weren't for a few elders around the martial arts platform to maintain it, it would have been broken and could no longer fight. Murongxian. This time, see who can beat whom. Yi Wuck became more courageous as he fought, and his momentum was like a rainbow. The majestic fighting spirit brought by the Holy Way's fighting spirit made him reach the best state. Yi Wuck. You don't have to be proud. It is Murongxian who wins. Oh. Facing Yi Wuck at this moment, Murongxian finally put away all his contempt, and all the power on his body was fully mobilized, and Tiangang Dragon Wanderer was brought to the extreme by him. Behind Murongxian, where Dan Yinpuyu was, a 3-foot-sized blue dragon appeared, extremely ferocious, but exuding a powerful wave. The green dragon bites the sky. Murongxian made the strongest blow to fit the dragon. He wants one move to determine the outcome. Does one move determine the outcome? Okay. The terrible tiger punches. Suppress me. Roar. Yi Wuck and the golden tiger merged into one, turning into a 3-foot golden tiger, slaughtering Xiang Murongxian with a majestic momentum. Wow, roar. The golden tiger and the cyan flood dragon brought a powerful force of thunder and slammed into one place. With this move, the winner will be divided. Search coolsmith.com on WeChat, follow the name of the post work, and read the full text for free. The fastest update. You can also get 20 excavators. Equals, kj_ds_icon.